Meteorologist Chance Scotch, and we're going to be tracking a warmer day, a little bit breezier. Highs eventually back towards the mid-70s, widespread. Going to be seeing winds gusting up to 25 miles per hour out of the south. Then into Thursday, mostly sunny skies. Could be seeing a stray shower or two, but the bulk of us remain dry. By Friday, increased chances of widespread showers, and a couple isolated chances of showers and storms Saturday, Sunday, with increased chances into early portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
Coffee? Check. Partisan hack talking points? Nope, not here. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on NewsTalkSTL.
Okay, a lot going on, and we're just halfway through the week, folks. Hang in there. We'll get there to the weekend. Obviously, what's happening in Iran, top of mind. We're going to keep you updated on that throughout the day. And what do you make of all of those election results all around the metro area? 314-912-1019. If you want to weigh in on that, obviously send us notes on social media as well. There's an interesting thing happening in the pro-life movement, and I'm personally very, very proud to be a tiny little small part of this, and that has to do with pregnancy resource centers because, REACH does such a great job around the St. Louis metro, pretty much all on the Missouri side, but on the Illinois side, pregnancy resource centers are not only serving women, but they're fighting against a political climate that is so hostile to them trying to serve women. Well, Stuart McMillan, he writes for the Heartlander and he writes for the Lion from our friends at the Herzog Foundation. He stopped by the studio with us yesterday to kind of talk about an article that he wrote, which is based on one of those pregnancy resource centers saving lives in the face of all of that opposition in Illinois, right here in the metro area, just outside of St. Louis. Interesting stuff. Here's what he had to say.
Found a really interesting article at readlion.com, our friends at the Herzog Foundation, The Lion, and it was written by Stuart McMillan, who's in studio with us right now.
Guy?
Don't know that guy.
That's a weird name.
You may have heard that name around St. Louis. But a couple articles that you wrote, Stu. Appreciate you being in, by the way.
Thanks. And very tired. Thank you. My arms are really tired.
Yes, there it is. You just had to fly from Jeffco.
Yeah,
you didn't have
traffic world,
That's right. Okay, so one of those I thought was fascinating, and that was regarding the Pregnancy Resource Center, basically just outside the metro area on the Illinois side.
Yeah, it's like 20 minutes from downtown St. Louis.
Yeah, so we're thinking of pro-life, and we automatically think politics and laws and lawsuits and all that kind of stuff, and we forget oftentimes that pro-life also means the organizations that work face-to-face with the women in crisis. I mean, on the Missouri side, REACH does a phenomenal job, and there's one in Illinois who, according to your article, which I read yesterday, and that's why I reached out, they are seeing a massive demand for their pro-life services.
Yeah, and I think you're right that the cause is not lost in Illinois at all. I mean, you have groups like this that are opening their doors, and they're seeing a massive increase, 350% increase in the first 6 weeks of this new CEO that took over. It's called Beacon of Light. I met her at the pro-life rally, actually, in Illinois, at the State House.
Yep.
And there were thousands of people there, and it was well attended. There was one heckler.
Just
one, though.
Just one, but very loud because they had a bullhorn. Went over and talked to her for a moment, and she had all kinds of interesting things to say.
Very interesting. Very colorful, yeah.
Oh, very, very colorful. But anyway, I got to talk to Brianna, X-Line with a Beacon of Light, and they have just seen this explosion in people interested in their services. And she's like, it's weird, but a lot of the women think they can get an abortion here. They show up thinking this is the place where I go to have an abortion, and they're like, yeah, well, it's not that, but we can help you figure out how to, take care of your baby once it's born, and be a mother, and how to be a mother, and all of those things. And it's quite fascinating to see that happening. Just the complete. It's not a bait and switch. It's we haven't done anything. It's not like we're advertising out there saying, "Come get an abortion here," and people show up and they don't. It's just that people might be confused about the laws in Missouri a little bit. People might be confused about what they can do in Illinois as far as abortion's concerned. And, she said we're kind of taking advantage of that right now. But really just put it on to the Lord. Just say, it's the Lord sending these people to us because they're in crisis. They need this. And I will say that the pregnancy centers, the resource pregnancy centers in St. Louis and all around the whole area, they are on the front lines of the pro-life movement.
100% agree.
I mean, there's no doubt about that in my mind. Yeah.
And so, what kind of resources and services does Beacon of Light and other organizations like them offer?
Yeah, I wish my wife was here because she works at a pregnancy resource center.
Oh, wow.
I should have just brought her with me, but
next time
she's got to be at the pregnancy resource center.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. But yeah, they help them with financial issues. They help them figure out the different terms of the baby. They let them see their baby through an ultrasound,
which is important.
And once you see that heartbeat, there's no denying it. Even if you're lying to yourself, that's not a real living thing that's inside of you.
Right.
The heartbeat is a wonderful way to share with these women that may be completely confused about what abortion is and what it will do. And they go through the process on what an abortion is, and they talk to them and they answer any questions, and there's a follow-up process. And from what Miss Exline was saying there, at this particular time, the 6-week span when she started, 100% of the women decided to keep their babies.
Oh, that's amazing.
That came through.
100%.
So that 100%. It's yeah. I mean, you can't get better than that. That's 1,000% batting average. So
it's just a testament to what can happen when people realize that they do have options and there is support.
Yeah, because Illinois has crafted, the lawmakers, the governor, the assembly, they have gone out of their way to literally try to become a tourist destination for abortions. At one point, they probably still have it, Planned Parenthood, of course, they've got the big Fairview Heights butchery. I drive past it all the time going to and from my baseball games. But they have a bus that is an abortion mill bus that they basically park along the border next to pro-life states, in trying to attract women from other states in order to profit off of this. So that's the mindset, Stu, and that's what caught my eye on your article, is that with Illinois, the political wonks and the legal wonks know what the laws are, but the connotation, people just assume that there's nothing pro-life in Illinois because the Democrats have won and the pro-abortion side has won so much. And when I saw that, I'm thinking people need to know that the pro-life cause is really active and it's not just a rally at the state capitol, which is important. That's good.
Sure.
But this isn't about the politics. This is about pro-life means saving lives. And how do you do that in states where they want to have as much abortion as possible? Well, you do that by going face to face and heart to heart with people in person.
Yeah, and pregnancy resource centers are doing that.
Yeah.
They're doing that every single day. And it's not just the abortion issue that they're dealing with, whether they're going to kill their child or not. It's with everyday issues, whatever that may be, relationship issues. They help them through, almost like a counseling service. And I know Miss Exline is a full-time counselor on top of that with that service. So, it's an all-around resource center. And I know that Hand in Hand Pregnancy Center, which is right next to my house in Barnhart, that's where my wife works. They call it a women's center. Right. Because they do so many things for the women, not just about pregnancy. They wanted to go even more broad than that, but that is their main goal.
Well, it's like taking a holistic approach as opposed to just this one discrete issue.
Yeah. So it is a huge issue in Illinois, and I talked to a lot of people at that rally, and I asked a lot of people, different towns all around Illinois, asking them, is it difficult to be pro-life in this state? And I'm probably going to do an article on that this week, just kind of collabing all of these different thoughts. Some people were like, no, because it's so, like, the stark differences are so there. It's like, it's actually pretty easy to be pro-life here because it's just so crazy left. And they're just so willing to kill babies. And it's just like, we can fight that. And then other people say, yes, it's very hard. It's very sad. I mean, think about it every day. So it's the people there have been, it seems like they feel defeated in a way.
Sure.
Because of the politics.
And that's not an accidental strategy. That's part of the strategy.
Yeah. I don't know how much time Where
Yeah, we got a few
with the
minutes,
clock. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
here.
it's radio. We don't pay attention to stuff like
What's
that.
the commercial? No big deal.
Oh, wait a minute. My boss is texting me. Hold on.
Time to take a break. Stu is talking too long on this radio station.
Not at all.
Let's move on. I was just going to pull this up. I just got a text from a crazy left-wing group. Yes, I do subscribe to the left-wing
I
stuff
do too,
because you got to
totally.
see what they're talking about. And I was talking to someone about this just yesterday. That's a rally that they're going to do Wednesday. I don't know if you know about this. At Jefferson City against the pregnancy resource bill. I don't know if you guys have all talked about this. But,
I mean, we do a lot of work with like Reach.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But they're trying to get their group, their base, to go talk against pregnancy resource centers because they don't want women to have that option.
Right.
They literally say it in their pitch.
Nuts.
It's like, we don't want them to give them. They're telling them that they can have their child.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane. That's insane.
It's just demonic, is what it is.
It's just, it goes down to that level for sure.
Well, and I think one of the things that it's easy to lose sight of, but I hear this all the time because a lot of my coworkers at RedState are in California. And, they over and over again, they get, well, you got what you voted for. You got what you voted for. Why don't you just leave? It's like, well, first of all, this is my home. And while there's a super majority in California of Democrats, there are tons and tons of Republicans in California, just like there are tons and tons of Republicans in Illinois. And tons of people who are pro-life. So even though they are on the losing end electorally, that doesn't mean the spirit isn't there. That doesn't mean that they don't have options to let their voices be heard.
Yeah, and I know there was a couple of years ago that Illinois tried to ban pregnancy resource centers, and the Thomas More Society fought it, and they won it in court against Pritzker's bill that he signed into law that would have pretty much ended pregnancy resource centers as we know it in Illinois. And, representatives like Adam Nyberg and a few others that really fought against that. And if we don't have those folks doing those things, we're not going to be able to give the option to these women that are in dire situations that don't know what they're going to do the next day. And there's a whole group of people that are saying, just kill it. Just kill your child.
Yeah, and Adam's been on the show here a number of times with a lot of the Freedom Caucus folks here as well. We're visiting with Stuart McMillan. I found the article on readlion.com. You also work for the Heartlander.
Yeah. It's either place you can find my stuff usually, but Heartlander is Missouri, and I've been covering some Illinois as well.
Yeah, and that's I just put your article on our chat box in Rumble, which I think we just pushed out.
Rumble chat box. Yeah, I'm so excited.
I pinned it on Facebook and on our X as well.
Yeah, so we can check that out because that's the thing is people tend to think of pro-life as political activism, and certainly that's part of it. But what you're talking about here, and this was this beacon of light. These are the people, like you said, these are on the front lines. These are the people who are dealing with, a girl who's 15 and crying, or a woman who's 35 and doesn't know what to do because of a career and husband and family and whatever. And so these are the people who deal with situations that us folks in other areas will never understand because we'll never experience it.
Yeah.
But they're the ones who are actually getting a human being to say, no, I am going to choose life, not just a vote.
Yeah. They're saving lives.
Yeah.
They're literally saving lives every single day. And it's one of the hardest places to work. I know I hear stories of from the nurses that are at these pregnancy centers, and they say it's gut-wrenching. There are days where women will tell them flat out, I'm going to have an abortion, and they can't do anything about it.
Right.
They can't convince them. They can't, whatever the case is. They said, just give me my, give me what I need to know. And
what's driving up that 350% increase in demand and interest? Something changed. Something happened.
Right. And I think it's probably, she didn't want to say, but I think it's this lady, Miss X-Line. I think it was somebody that really just started from day one and able to talk to everybody and get the word out into the community and to really show people that, hey, this is a resource center that we can have. But I think, it's just probably the also a coincidence of the timing because it's been so hot in the news lately in Illinois and in Missouri on both sides. That was one thing she had mentioned. But she really just said, the Lord is just bringing these people to us. That was the only thing that she could really just
that's
pinpoint.
what came to my mind when I started thinking
It's
about
like,
it.
God brought these people here. And she's like, I just happened to be here when it started. It's like, it's not like my fault or anything. It's just, but I think, she's just really been working hard to help out as many women as possible.
Yeah, and that's why one of the things is, and you mentioned, what was the name of the Pregnant Resource Center your wife works at?
Hand in Hand in Barnhart.
Barnhart. And then you've got Reach in St. Peters in North County.
Right.
And then this one, Beacon of Light, which is in which city in Illinois?
That's in Maryland.
Maryland. Okay.
Yeah,
Maryville.
Maryville. Yeah.
Maryland. That's a whole other
Too
place.
far away.
That's a whole other.
But the point is that they are in their communities and they're not trying to solve the entire state policy issue. They're just working with the people right next door to them and not looking over them the way so many activist groups do.
Election results, what's going on in Iran, and of course, we've got Flashback Friday coming up in just a couple of days. What do you want to hear for your 80s bump music? Let Jerome know starting today. All right, 314-912-1019. That's how to be involved in the conversation. Or, as always, shoot us a note on the Facebook comments, Rumble chat box, tweet at us, you name it. Let's get the conversation started here on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
I listen to News Talk STL on the app driving to work.
Download the News Talk STL app.
You got to get the News Talk STL app.
Love the app. Can listen anywhere in St. Louis.
And listen anytime. News Talk STL right on my phone. Anywhere.
Want a hands-free light that does not strap to your head or held in your mouth? Meet Dex Fingerlight at fingerlight.com. The Kryptonite ring fits any finger, pointing light exactly where you need it. Place decoys, handle gear, get close to roosted gobblers, fast, easy, stealthily. 3 light modes, waterproof, extremely durable. Developed by a father and son's Missouri team, Dex Fingerlight is faster and easier than a headlamp. Use discount code TONY20 for 20% off at fingerlight.com.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Dreaming about a vacation but not sure where to start? Should you book that all-inclusive resort or a cruise? Which destination? What cruise line? And how do you know you're getting the best value? That's where Magic Expeditions comes in. We're your St. Louis local travel experts, helping you choose the vacation that fits. Whether a relaxing adults-only escape, family-friendly resort, or unforgettable cruise adventure, skip the stress, the guessing, and endless online searching. Visit magicexpeditions.com. That's magicexpeditions.com.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobblers, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
Lower your car payment today. Lower your car payment today. Yes, you heard us right. You can lower your car payment right now by making this free call and save up to $1,400 a year on your current car payments. Think about your current car payment right now. What's that costing you per year? Now think about what it would be like to put an extra $1,400 back in your pocket. That's the average savings our customers experience. We can help you drive the same car and pay less every month by lowering your car payment's interest rate to as low as 4.67%. At Rate Genius, we can work with you to refinance any car payment. If you qualify, it costs you nothing to find out how you can lower your car payment. To learn more, call this number right now.
800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. That's 800-493-5670.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
We're doing the show, right?
Yeah, no, the jack for my headphone here isn't working. So,
oh, no.
Yeah, so I'm using the other one here. So if everybody's watching on camera, it's like, where did mine go? I was like ducking under trying to get my headphone thing redone. Okay, 5:52 here. So just we're going to get to the national news in a few minutes. Obviously, Iran's going to dominate that. Here today, we had a lot of really interesting election results.
Yeah.
I mean, really interesting. And I'm going to put the question out there. Is St. Charles County not as conservative as we've all been just kind of believing all these years?
So, I mean, the proportion of people that showed up was low. However,
Right.
based on these results, you have to wonder.
Right, exactly. And there was a little higher turnout of the voting than what was predicted. I saw the director of elections, Kurt Barr, post on social media that they broke 20% of eligible, which everybody's like, wow, 20%. Well, that's still pathetic. But it's more than they thought was going to turn out. I did not see what the numbers are for St. Louis County or for Jeffco or any of those. But the election results were very mixed on the tax stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get into that in just a minute here. Okay, so by the way, we did not vaporize 90 million people in Iran last night, just in case you were wondering if that was going to happen. We did not do that, it turns out.
Oh, okay.
Right. So because apparently, not apparently, the president threatened to annihilate an entire civilization to never bring it back. That was posted on social media.
So we did not.
We did not do
genocide.
that. We
Okay.
did not do that. So we didn't do that. So there's a short-term. It looks like there's a short-term deal between the U.S. and Iran, not between Israel and Iran, but between the U.S. and Iran. And so we'll see how long that goes. We'll see what happens with that. The war is not over. We're going to blow something up again at some point or another.
Yeah.
My guess is Iran's probably going to violate whatever deal they've got. This just kind of gives them a chance to breathe and reload. But it looks like the Strait of Hormuz and the oil is going to come because the economic pressures were more so on the U.S. Than on Iran. But the military, obviously, Iran's been devastated. So they're like essentially like economic stuff, whatever. We got an entire nation in rubble here at this point. So they're getting their butts kicked. They're still not accepting that they have lost. So essentially, we'll see where this goes. But it looks like there may be a dip in the actual hostilities and violence for a little bit. But my guess is it's not over.
Well, they also have a different win con. I mean, for them, it's going to be a war of attrition to cause as much global economic damage as they can.
Right.
And so far, I mean, not that I want to give Iran credit, but to their credit, they've been very good about basically disrupting the global supply chain. But you also have Gulf allies and you have our European allies that are being affected with what is essentially amounting to a energy crisis. So it probably would make the most sense to say, look, we'll stop blowing everything up if you just kind of cool it and let some stuff get through the strait.
Yep. All right. So we'll have an update for you in the national news here in just a moment. First of all, what the heck went on straight up on Rumble?
What did you do?
They're suggesting a theme for Flashback Friday, songs that Mike won't like.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, come on.
I love it. I know what the theme's going to be this week.
Jeez, you guys. What did I do to you? All right, just saying here. By the way, I put this on Twitter yesterday. I went and voted at Richmond Heights, which is a very, very, very deep blue part of St. Louis County. I mean, it's about as deep blue as you're going to get. Basically, the closer to the city you are, the more blue it is.
Yeah.
You go out to West County, more red, which, by the way, our friend AJ Mole, he won his seat he won a seat on the Chesterfield City Council yesterday. So
congratulations.
AJ, congratulations on that. So he just ran a very good, shaking hands, meeting people kind of campaign. He just ran a good, solid campaign on a shoestring budget. So good on him. I'm for that. Okay, so I go to vote. I voted at the VFW there on Big Bend in Richmond Heights. And I'm walking in. I happened to have my News Talk STL pullover yesterday. There were poll workers everywhere pushing all the left-wing stuff and the tax increases. It was funny because you want to know how to get them to leave you alone? We're a News Talk STL thing, and they're like, yeah, we're not going to bother with this guy. And so they parted ways like I was Moses at the Red Sea. It was so funny.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint by a lot, backed with our 25-year transferable warranty. Paint a house, shield a home. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, steel, aluminum, cedar, and more. We are the only coating company selected by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where all 3 episodes concentrate on unpainted brick. If you maintain or own a business with a tired-looking building, you owe it to yourself to look at Rhino Shield and our beautifully durable color schemes. Evaluations are free. We're making buildings pop and be noticed again, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks, exceeding expectations every day with our products, people, and performance. Now is the time to call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or go to 877-25rhino.com and see how honest and transparent we really are. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Hi, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show, and I'm here with Dr. Grant Black. And Grant, capitalism, that is increasingly under attack. But why is a free market system so important?
The simple answer, society is much better off because of free markets. Free markets allow individuals and business owners to freely choose what to consume, how to save, where to live and do business, what to produce, and how to protect our valuable resources, and so much more. And this can all happen without requiring heavy government interference. In a nutshell, free markets empower people to live their lives the way they choose. And this makes all our lives better.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rates you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at
NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. A big day for world peace. The words of President Trump now that Iran has agreed to a 2-week ceasefire and negotiations over a longer-term peace proposal drafted by Tehran.
Ahead of a Tuesday night deadline, the president announced he was suspending military strikes on Iran for 2 weeks if Iran agreed to a ceasefire and the immediate reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's Supreme National Security Council said it has accepted the 2-week ceasefire. The president also said Iran has proposed a workable 10-point peace plan that could help end the war. Earlier in the day, Donald Trump threatened to kill Iran's whole civilization in a chilling statement by an American president. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Despite the ceasefire announcement, reports of missile fire do persist.
We also saw the Iranians continue to launch missile barrages even after the ceasefire was announced across the Gulf Arab states and on Israel. In the United Arab Emirates, where I am, they said a fire broke out at a facility at a natural gas field there after one missile barrage was sighted.
Correspondent John Gambrell says while Israel has agreed to the ceasefire with Iran, it's insisting it will not quit attacking Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. The ceasefire has fired up Wall Street, with futures sharply higher this morning. Global markets soaring as well as oil prices slide. Georgia's 14th congressional district seat will remain in Republican hands. Clay Fuller has won a special runoff election to fill the seat vacated by Marjorie Taylor Greene. Fuller, former DA, credits President Trump's endorsement as well as strong grassroots support for his victory over Democrat Sean Harris. Fuller's win bolstering the razor-thin GOP majority in the House. And on Wall Street, the Dow futures up 1,197 points. NASDAQ futures ahead 836. More on these stories, townhall.com.
If your investments are in a 401k or an IRA, then listen carefully. You spent 30, maybe 40 years building your retirement. The question is, are you about to watch it take a hit you can't recover from? Military escalation in Iran, tariffs in legal chaos, the U.S. dollar under pressure it hasn't seen in years. History is clear. When this much uncertainty hits at once, the investors who moved into gold and silver first came out ahead. Right now, Advantage Gold is offering a free gold investment kit and a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's powerful new book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Call Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000. Thousands of Americans have already rolled over a portion of their 401k or IRA into physical gold and silver, completely tax and penalty free through Advantage Gold. Don't wait for the next surge to wish you had moved sooner. Results vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Good morning. I'm First Alert 4 meteorologist Chance Scotch, and we're going to be tracking a warmer day, a little bit breezier. Highs eventually back towards the mid-70s, widespread. Going to be seeing winds gusting up to 25 miles per hour out of the south. Then into Thursday, mostly sunny skies. Could be seeing a stray shower or two, but the bulk of us remain dry. By Friday, increased chances of widespread showers and a couple isolated chances of showers and storms Saturday, Sunday, with increased chances into early portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Business owners, download your free playbook for financial clarity at SerenityWealthBiz.com. That's SerenityWealthBiz.com.
Hey, Tony Colombo here with Tim Jones for our friends Rodney and Jen Wallner, the Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway, the #1 home selling team in the St. Louis area, and I can say that from firsthand experience. My wife and I were blown away from the results that we saw from working with Rodney and Jen, from selling our old home faster and for more money than we thought possible to finding our family's perfect new home. They over-delivered every step of the way, and right now it's still very much a seller's market. So, Tim, for folks that have been thinking about selling their home, it's a perfect time to call the Wallners.
That's right, Tony. And don't forget, they're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois, so no matter where you are in the metro area, you can put St. Louis's #1 home selling team to work for you. The Wallners' experience and work ethic, second to none. And of course, the numbers speak for themselves. The Wallners sell 15 times more homes per year than the typical realtor. Right now, they're working with so many qualified buyers, they'll guarantee to obtain you an offer. If you've been thinking about selling your home, don't wait. Call the Wallners now at 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner home selling team.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
The story behind the story. When I was first in broadcasting, trying to get a sponsor should have been easy, but was very hard.
Larry Connors, USA.
Now, weeknights 6 until 8.
On News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Boo! Relax, nerd.
Susie Moore.
And that would be a good time to respond with some applause.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
That's a banana republic without the banana.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, the votes are in, and conservatives didn't do so well in some areas, in some red areas, and apparently some voters really like higher taxes.
Yeah, or something.
We may need to rethink what we think the momentum is right now, politically, at least in this region right here.
Yeah.
Did we get into the bubble of conservative media thinking that all momentum is on our side, and maybe it's not? I think we need to look critically at some of these election results.
I think that's a good idea.
Yep. Also, turns out, just in case you were following this, the president did not kill a whole civilization never to be brought back again. That did not happen last night.
Right.
So there are 90 million people still alive in Iran.
It might not go a little easier.
Right. Yeah. That's after, of course, threatening on social media to vaporize 90 million people. And the Cards and the Blues and the Battlehawks all played last night. We got one win out of the 3 games in St. Louis. Tell you which one here in just a minute. All right. 6:06 right now. Let's go ahead and get going with the news dump.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks.
The Morning News Dump.
All right. Around the metro, voters had mixed feelings on the tax issues on the ballot. This was kind of like bipolar voting throughout the St. Louis metro.
I have a theory
area.
about that.
Yeah. Property tax freeze proposals passed in Jefferson and Franklin counties. So their property taxes going to be locked in. That's going to make them probably more attractive to people who are looking at places to buy long-term and permanent homes. St. Charles County voters, though, rejected the idea, so basically assuring future property tax increases for everybody who's not already covered by the senior property tax freeze.
Right. Yeah. I will tell you, even as somebody who sat here for the past, several weeks, and we've talked about these issues and that sort of thing, when I got to looking at the ballot, I was like, wait, what does it mean?
Yeah.
And so I do think a lot of it comes down to wording.
A lot of it did, and I think the property tax freeze thing, like for instance, there was a push statewide saying pass the SB3 property tax freeze, but they weren't called SB3 at the ballot.
Yeah,
like in St. Charles County, it was Prop RT. But here's the thing: that was like a 60-40 thing. It wasn't even close in St. Charles County. So I think that voters knew what they were rejecting.
I don't think so.
60-40, though. That's huge.
I'm telling you right now, you could not tell reading the explanation what it was you were voting on. It was very confusing.
Yeah, and it was closer in other areas, though. So, I mean, the education
was it the exact same wording?
It was basically the same wording. Yeah, it was pretty close because it was all based on that SB3 from the state. But even you and I right now, look at how confusing this is getting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that was a big gap. The establishment came out against that. The government came out against that in a lot of different ways. Also in St. Charles County, in the race for Francis Howell School Board, the conservative slate of candidates, Jane Pushkar, Lauren Greenwood, David Jaworski, they all lost.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really that close.
Same goes for Fort Zumwalt.
Yeah, and Mark Pratt lost in Fort Zumwalt. In the city, the earnings tax renewal passed with something like 80% of the vote. So they're just continuing to punch themselves in the mouth in the city with stupid policies like this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thought process is if we vote it out, then we'll lose that revenue.
Which they will, except that it makes the city far more attractive to investment and other things.
There's
and
not
homeowners.
not the recognition that that gives you an option for much more revenue from in a different way.
Here's the thing: I've got the mixed feelings that I absolutely want to see the city turn its fortunes around.
Yeah.
But I don't feel sorry when 80% of you make such a stupid decision like this. I mean, you've been warned for years and years and years and years, and the evidence is clear. You get rid of this, you make your community more competitive, especially when you've got such a massive violent crime problem in the city that you're going to continue to keep another barrier up to businesses and to homeownership there.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's dumb voting, but I mean, I think people just...
You get they get what they deserve in the city at this point. Yeah,
I guess.
All right. United States and Iran agreed to a 2-week ceasefire. And this is ahead, of course, of that Tuesday night deadline that was announced by the president on social media and from the podium. Here's the story.
In stark and violent language, the president had warned that Iran's whole civilization would die and never be brought back again unless his demands were met. Shortly before the deadline, Donald Trump announced a suspension in military attacks subject to Iran's agreement. Iran's Supreme National Security Council accepted the ceasefire but said it doesn't mean an end to the war. The Iranian foreign minister said passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be allowed for the next 2 weeks under Iranian military management. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Okay, so a couple things on this. This is only between the U.S. and Iran. This is not between Israel and Iran.
True, but I did see a statement from the IDF this morning saying that pursuant to instructions from our political folks, we're adhering to it.
Okay.
So
yeah, because there were still missiles flying
there
last
still
night.
are.
Yeah.
There still are.
Yeah.
And from multiple directions.
Right.
So apparently not everybody has gotten the memo or gotten on board with it. But the IDF did actually say that this morning.
So there may be a little dip, but this isn't over. You know, the last missiles have not flown, and they will not be ending anytime soon.
No.
Yeah. All right. At 8:05, by the way, 8:05, we're announcing the next News Talk STL event. It is connected to arguably the most important local election of 2026.
Yeah.
I would argue that this is connected, that this race that we're going to be talking about here is the biggest and most important in the region this year.
I'm with you on that.
All right. So 8:05, that announcement is coming. All right. I want to get into this a little bit later. I think we're going to have time in the 7 o'clock hour. Governor Mike Kehoe signs the first laws of 2026 into place from the 2026 legislative session. One of them strengthens penalties for grooming minors for sex.
Okay.
Yeah. And it adds criminal penalties for sextortion, basically blackmailing somebody based on photos that you have of somebody or some other, media that you have of somebody. And also mandates anti-human trafficking training for law enforcement because that's not part of the training now. So that's all being put into place. Another law allows divorces to happen while the woman involved is still pregnant.
That's Cecily Williams' measure.
Yeah, Cecily
we
Williams.
talked to her about that, and good to see that signed into law.
Yeah, that repeals a law that was put on the books in the 1970s.
Interesting.
And apparently this measure has been introduced a number of times, but until she told her personal story, it just kind of languished as in, we'll get to it when we get to it. It's not a real big deal thing.
Right.
Yeah. And also Senator Nick Schroer's juvenile justice bill that he's been on the show talking about a number of times, that was signed into law as well.
Damn.
So among other things, it makes it easier for minors to be charged as adults in connection with violent crimes. So, there were some leftists who really got upset with that. They pushed back on it, but that is now the law.
Good.
In Missouri. Yep. Let's see here. What else we got going on here? Artemis. You want to talk about Artemis?
Yeah.
We want to talk about Artemis because they had a big day yesterday.
They did.
Actually. All right. The crew of the Artemis 2 actually got on the phone with the astronauts at the International Space Station. Yeah. And that was after they went past the moon. They're on their way back to Earth. NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman was on Fox's America Reports, and he says, the mission's going essentially as planned right now.
This is a first of its kind. This is the first time astronauts have ever been on this rocket. This is the first time astronauts have ever been on Orion before. Having a clean mission like this so far gives us the confidence for Artemis 3, and of course, when we land astronauts back on the moon with Artemis 4.
And so we're looking at basically, 2.5 days for them to get back to Earth.
Yeah, they're supposed to come back on Friday.
Yep. So there we go. All right. This is a little bit different. Empty nesting ain't what it used to be. No. A new report featured in a Finance Buzz article says 1/3 of young adults in the United States, they define that as 18 to 34, 1/3 of them still live with their parents.
Well, okay.
Now, that includes the college
That's
age
what I was going to say,
kids.
because 18, and there's a huge chunk of that that's got to be like 18 to 22, 23, which if you're still living with your parents while you're in college, so
Right. Well,
what?
that includes that. And apparently the baseline over the years is, about 18-20% of that group lives with parents because they're still in college.
Right.
So they've defined this by up to 34. The most common reason given for that in the survey was the increased cost of living, that young adults are still staying with their parents. The states with the highest percentage of young adults living with their folks, New Jersey, 44%. Connecticut, 41%, California, 39%, the state with the lowest percentage of young adults living with their parents still, North Dakota, with just 12%.
I would almost wager that the amount of people that are out of college that still live at home is probably greater than those in college because a lot of people are going into the dorms and such.
Yeah, I'm assuming that I'm like, does that count if a kid lives on campus, but then they're home?
Yes. I think it's like their permanent address.
Right.
Yeah, but that's always been factored in.
Right. So that's what I guess what I'm saying is for this to really be an indicative of anything big, I think it should cut off at like 22 or 23. Adults 22 or 23 and older.
To 34.
Right. Because if you're counting the college age kids, that's going to give you a skewed result, I guess is my point.
Do the majority of 18 to 22-year-olds go to college, though?
That's pretty much standard, I thought.
Well,
I don't know about the majority, but
that's the thing, is the
substantial portion of them.
Yeah. So, but you're talking about post high school. So, but I thought it was only because it went all the way up to 34.
Right. No. I mean, there's definitely an increase. I think
people are living at home
a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah, at a much larger or a much higher age than they were, a decade ago.
Yeah. All right. Battlehawks just could not contain the Renegades offense last night. Battlehawks lost 31-15 in Dallas. Battlehawks are back at home on Sunday. They got a quick turnaround this week to host the Birmingham Stallions at the Dome. Birmingham Stallions have been a little bit of a thorn in the side for us over the years, so hopefully we can get some revenge on them. Cardinals scored twice in the 10th inning to get the win over the Nationals in D.C. Jordan Walker had another home run in the game.
Oh, my goodness.
He's had 4 now already.
Wow.
So this kid's coming to life, which we all knew he had the ability to do here. Let's see here. Final game of the series is this afternoon at 3:05. Each team has won one game. Redbirds are going to start Michael McGreevy. The Nationals are going to start former Cardinal Miles Michaelis against us.
All right.
And Blues ended up losing 3-1 last night.
Alan Link, owner of the Dental Link. You've heard ads about teeth in a day, but did you know that you will be chewing on plastic, acrylic teeth? Here at the Dental Link, we can give you porcelain crown and bridge teeth utilizing mini dental implants that function much more like real teeth at about half the cost. Plus, mini dental implants are less invasive, less painful, and your recovery time is much shorter. Give us a call at 314-794-6464 or simply visit us today at thedentallink.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Dr. Tobler, unfortunately yesterday we had another shooting by a transgender, this time in Rhode Island.
I know a little bit about hormones, and I know that hormones affect people in different ways. But when you start taking people and taking a God-given playing board, chessboard, if you will, and you put checkers on a chessboard, the game doesn't come out the same.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4
on News Talk STL.
License number GL2500615.
We've seen all kinds of clogs, so remember the rule. Only flush 3 things. Number 1, number 2, and toilet paper.
What about my dinosaurs?
No?
My monster truck?
Nope.
What about...
If it's not the big 3, don't flush it.
But if someone does flush a dinosaur...
Call Grasser. We clear the clog and get things moving again.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Craving a real slice of Chicago right here in Wentzville? Alfano's Pizza is the only spot in town serving legendary Chicago-style stuffed deep dish, thick crust, gooey mozzarella, and signature sauce made fresh every morning. Prefer New York hand-tossed or St. Louis cracker crust? They've got that too. Plus, legendary sandwiches, spicy Italian beef, Cuban, and Philly cheesesteak. Curbside pickup or fast delivery. Alfano's Pizza, real fresh, right in your neighborhood. Order at alfanospizza.wentzvillemo.com. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey guys, Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. Hope you had enough time to freshen up your coffee, because now we're back with Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right. Not many people are going to say this in the region here. Maybe St. Charles County is not as conservative as we want to believe.
Well, I think that's a fair question to ask.
I am asking the question. What do you think on this? Okay, let's start with the school board races here. Francis Howell School District voters, I mean, it was pretty solid. It was pretty clear what just happened. The conservatives were rejected. The farther left candidates were added. The Francis Howell School District is now solidly in the hands of essentially education establishment leftists.
Right.
So, you know, the campaign running on, we're going to keep pornography away from your children from the school libraries. We're not going to have the school district hiding these things from the parent. That lost.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we're going to have, you know, financial accountability. That lost. We're going to make sure that parents, that lost in the Francis Howell School Board elections. I mean, the establishment was out full force to keep conservatives off the board, and the establishment won and the conservatives lost in St. Charles County.
Yeah, I confess that I didn't dig in and follow what the messaging was from the establishment.
Yeah.
Was it just, don't listen to them, they're, you know, far right-wing zealots, or was it, here's what we're going to do?
It was a combination of both. It was a little bit of both on that, and it was, we're going to support our public schools. You know, we're going to, you know, that sort of stuff. But it was these crazy right-wing zealots was part of it, and especially, of course, media. The coverage of the media was absolutely not unbiased journalism. We're used to that. And, you know, the reality is that, you know, Jane is a lightning rod because Jane stands for stuff.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Because Jane takes a strong, clear, unambiguous stand, and you either like her or you don't. And of course, we like her because I wish we had more. I think it's a bad move, but the voters, it wasn't that close. I mean,
No.
they chose the slates of candidates, and they chose the ones on the left, and they rejected the ones who were saying porn should not be in schools, should not be grooming kids, and they rejected that platform.
I feel like there's just such a stranglehold that the education establishment has on, the electoral process. And I mean, we see it across the country. The teachers unions, there's a very, very strong, I don't know if it's just, like I said, it's like a stranglehold that they have over I think people's impressions of school board and the public school system. And I don't know how you bust through that unless you have like a big controversy.
Yeah, like Chicago or something like that. With
Well,
the teachers unions up there.
Yeah, or like some specific incident that people like rally around. Like think about Loudoun County in
Right,
Virginia, and that Glenn Youngkin kind of got swept into office in Virginia on this issue about protecting kids from the trans ideology, that sort of thing. And it got to be like kind of a critical mass where there was enough sentiment to push back. In general, I think unless you have something like acute like that, people aren't necessarily motivated. They're like, you know what? These are the pro school people. It's public school. I don't know. I'm not trying to excuse. I'm just trying to come up with my understanding of why this happens.
Yeah, and you also, the reality is that I think that some of the things on public schools is that the teachers unions, who I think are some of the biggest villains in all of our body politic right now, and people want to say, well, just separate out the unions from the teachers. Don't support the teachers, just don't support the unions. The teachers are the unions. They're the ones who elect the radicals. They're the ones who fund it. So the idea, and I've heard this in every market I've been in, because people are scared to oppose teachers, when teachers are the ones delivering the grooming in the classrooms. They're the ones actually doing it at of course, the behest of the union. They're the ones who elect and fund the activism. So even if there's a few teachers here and there, and I'm sure there are, who are like, I just really don't like this, I'm conservative, I wish we didn't do that, but they won't speak out against it. They don't, for the most part, they don't do it.
To keep their jobs.
Well, right. So, they've made a decision. Do I want to be principled or do I want to be practical? And they fund the things that they privately will say they're not for. So I don't have any problem saying, listen, public school teachers, unless you're actively speaking out and trying to preserve what's good and right, you're part of the problem. And I am not going to separate out the teacher in the classroom from the union thugs that are running it. That's why I am not a pro public school person at all. I have no problem saying I think public schools right now are a detriment to our communities and society, not just because they do a terrible job of educating on average, but because they have decided to become cultural warriors on the side of Marxism. I mean, that this is an establishment that has been captured by the far left, and that, for instance, we're about to talk in the 7 o'clock hour of a new law that says you're not allowed to, we've now defined grooming of children. Grooming was not illegal in Missouri before because it was never defined.
Wasn't defined, right.
Right. Now, the act of abuse was obviously criminal. But by that definition, I'll ask the question later, I'm like, okay, well, then is a bunch of the stuff that the public schools promote and do, isn't that grooming? They're never going to be prosecuted for it because because the media and the left and too many churches and all these things, they think there's something virtuous about public schools. That's why they attack private schools all the time and school choice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you bust through that mentality.
I don't know that we do.
Yeah.
I think we're just loyal opposition for a long time,
Well, right. And I don't have any easy answers to that, but it is kind of interesting that both in Fort Zumwalt and Francis Howell, the conservative candidates lost, and it's frustrating. Doesn't really inspire me to ever want to run for school board, but but I mean, then we had some other races that were super close.
Oh my goodness! Did you see the race in St. Charles City, not County City, city council race? That was Ward 1. As of right now, the difference between Chris Kyle and Bill Otto, 572 to 571.
It really is one vote.
Literally one vote. So we've been here going, your vote matters more in an April election. And there were a few others of those. I know you were looking through some of those this morning, Jerome.
Yeah, some in St. Charles, there were a couple of precincts where it came down to 3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
That's how it was. There's one area where it was 13 for yes, 10 for no. I mean, that's how close it was.
I mean, I've talked to Bill Otto. Bill Otto is the one who used to be in the legislature, I think.
I think that's right.
There was an Otto. I don't know if it was him or not. But I don't, I don't really have a dog in that race. I don't know either of the candidates. But can you imagine if somebody's like, oh, yeah, we're big fans of Bill Otto. We want to get him elected. And the husband and the wife forgot to show up or they got too busy. Guess what? Now, I'm sure they're going to go back and they're like, race that close. They're going to hand count everything and they're going to redo it just to make sure that's not certified.
Oh, absolutely.
But one vote difference in that race of over 1,000, over 1,100 votes, one vote difference.
That's amazing. Can I tell you why I almost didn't vote?
Okay.
Because I go back and
Is it because you're a woman and you couldn't get the documentation?
Yeah,
okay.
Totally,
Sorry.
like I forgot how to do it. No, that's not it. I look at my little notification about where my new polling place is because it keeps jumping around. It's never the same place. And so I'm like, okay, so I get in my car and I plug in the GPS and I go driving and I'm like, there's nothing here. What? And then I plugged in the name of the place and it still took me on this weird circuitous route. And I'm like, what the heck? I almost drove over to the old polling place just to see if there was like one there and see if they could. And I drove back along, and then I tucked back in this office park. I saw one banner that said vote. And so then I finally drove in, and it was, it was a pretty full lot. People were there voting. But the GPS almost kept me from voting. So I blame George Soros.
Of course.
But I did finally manage, even though I'm a woman, I did finally manage to find the address and park and not hit any cars. and then I went in and there was, a ballot. But even, as I was saying, even having discussed the issues, when I was looking at the language on the ballot, I was like, okay, I know what I want to vote, but I'm not sure if I didn't have any familiarity with this walking in here, if I would know that or have that instinct.
Yeah, that's the thing is news, the news side of radio is a part of what people take in, and you've got to really want to be engaged and learn. So there's a lot of people who had hopefully our conversations like, oh, okay, now I understand what this means. I didn't understand. I don't think I figured it out until this weekend because it really was confusing as well. But majority of people aren't seeking out, whether it's on the right or the left. I mean,
no. I mean, if they're actually going to vote at all,
right?
Even then, it's kind of like, oh,
and they're going to show up and go, "What does this mean?"
Right.
Now, do you have any electioneers like pushing stuff on you on the way in?
No, there was one lady standing outside at an appropriate distance with a sign, just saying, "Hey, hi."
Right.
Like that was it.
I walked in. There were some petitioners before I got to the electioneers. Like, hey, would you sign this petition to preserve the right to for initiative petitions? I said, well, who's trying to take that right away? And he goes, well, this would just ensure it's a right. I'm like, it's a right now. And then he looked down and saw my NewsTalkSTL thing, and he goes, oh, well, you have a nice day.
Yeah.
And he backed
away.
Want
to be challenged.
Yeah.
So nothing like that at my
I think you didn't want to end up on the news. That's what that is.
Maybe.
Well, as we're going over how this election turned out the way it is, I have to wonder, does St. Charles County actually want higher property tax bills? Sure seems that way. Let's talk about those election results more at 6:35.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
People talk about federal money as if it falls from heaven. We thank heaven for it, but it came out of people's pockets.
On NewsTalkSTL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Good morning. I'm First Alert 4 meteorologist Chance Scotch, and we're going to be tracking a warmer day, a little bit breezier. Highs eventually back towards the mid-70s. Widespread, going to be seeing winds gusting up to 25 miles per hour out of the south. Then into Thursday, mostly sunny skies. Could be seeing a stray shower or two, but the bulk of us remain dry. By Friday, increased chances of widespread showers, and a couple isolated chances of showers and storms Saturday, Sunday, with increased chances into early portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
Hello, St. Louis. This is Everett Jones of Jones Air and Water Treatment.
I know you're ready for some summer weather. While we still have the spring to get through, this is a great time to think about your swimming pools. That's right, now is a great time to save on EcoSmart salt-free, chlorine-free, acid-free pool products. Call now and get 50% off glass pack media and 15% off all other EcoSmart products. Call now at 636-899-1040, now through the end of April.
If you love your pet, which I know you do, then they deserve the excellent treatment and care they'll receive at Pacific Animal Hospital in Pacific, Missouri, a full-service veterinarian facility. Originally built and grown by my dad, Dr. Bill Jones, a new generation of wonderful veterinarians and staff at Pacific continue to provide outstanding medical, surgical, dental, boarding, and grooming services for your favorite furry friends. Our family entrusts the care of our pets only to the experienced docs and staff at Pacific Animal Hospital. You should too. Call them today, 636-257-2100, 24/7 at pacificvets.com, pacificvets.com.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
It's Democrats and Chuck Schumer that are causing the long lines.
They think we ought to abolish ICE, just like they wanted to abolish police.
Nuke the filibuster in order to pass the SAVE Act.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, mixed results on all the tax proposals,
Yeah.
propositions on the ballot. That's what I think was interesting because so you can look and say, what was the general trend or momentum? I don't know that there was one.
that
It
you
was
could do that
it
here,
was
yeah.
hyper local. I
Mhm.
think is what happened here. So are we now? We have Niles. Okay, we've got Niles Stevens from Mo Tax Relief Now with us right now. And Niles, I mean, there was a big push. Obviously, tax reform. There's an appetite for it. I'm going to start with the big one in St. Charles County. This one wasn't even close. Voters said no to freezing the property taxes. So either they really like higher property taxes or the establishment got through, because in other areas, this thing passed. I mean, Franklin County, Jefferson County, they voted to freeze their property taxes for everybody. What happened in St. Charles County, in a much more populous area and what we would think is a more conservative area, but they're okay with increased taxes, apparently.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me on. I think that shows that Missourians will buck the trends on Election Day, and that's been shown year after year. We thought we were a pro-life state, and now all of a sudden we weren't either. All politics is local, and anything can happen in these low-turnout April elections. I think I saw one small community in St. Louis County where 10 people showed up to vote and increase taxes on the rest of their community.
Wow, that's wild. Niles, question for you about the I don't know how the messaging was handled in, for instance, Jeffco and Franklin County versus in St. Charles County on this measure. Was there a lot of, were there a lot of signs? Were there a lot of people pushing? Because I will be honest, as a St. Charles County resident, I didn't see anything about this. I didn't see yard signs. I didn't hear. The only way I know about it is from being here at the radio station.
Right. Well, in St. Charles County, they also had the big school board fight, going on out there. So they had the conservative candidates up against the up on the ballot, and so that might have played a part in it. In these April elections, it's the low turnout elections, and conservatives have a hard time showing up. So in St. Louis County, you can see where the fire department tax increases, it basically just followed the red and blue trend lines. So out west, where it leans more red, the fire departments lost. In the blue areas, they won. In St. Charles County, might have been just like a change election year this year, where the school board got people fired up to vote, and then also I think that the messaging on the no on the freeze kind of scared people away from it. They have already given seniors a tax freeze, and then another freeze on top would have affected services. And so those people that are receiving the services, the people that are providing the government services, they probably just did a better job at messaging to make sure that they had funding, their funding got continued.
Yeah, and regarding your lines on the red and blue, if you look at St. Louis County on the sales tax increase plans that in theory is supposed to eventually lower some property taxes. We'll see where that happens. That passed in Afton, it passed in Blackjack, it let's see here, it failed in Creve Coeur, it failed in Fenton, it passed in Florissant, it passed in Kinloch, it passed in Limay, it passed in Maryland Heights. Let's see here, where else? It failed. Metro West, it failed. Mid-County passed. Monarch failed. North County passes. Northeast Ambulance passes. Pattonville passes. Robertson passes. Spanish Lake passes. Valley Park fails. That is just all over the map. It's just everywhere.
Literally.
Yeah.
Well, I think it does show. That's kind of like on the red and blue lines. I think maybe some of those areas in South County might trend a little more Republican, a little more conservative, that it's still passed. But Monarch, Metro West, Creve Coeur, Valley Park, those areas are, traditionally a little more conservative, a little more Republican red areas. Whereas when you move further in east, trends a little more blue. And so from what we're looking at, it kind of fell right on the partisan line there of whether or not the sales tax increase passes. So
we did see a little bit of an uptick in turnout. You kind of alluded to this in St. Charles County. It's looking like right now it's right at just under 19%, which is a little higher than predicted. But overall, because April elections have these traditionally such low turnouts, do you feel like there's this maybe going to be a push to do away with the April elections so that measures like this are handled in higher turnout elections?
There is a push for it. I know there's a number of bills that got filed this year at the state level. So to move the school board elections to April, to move tax increases to April elections. Some people have suggested putting minimum turnout requirements for tax increases. So there's a push for it that just hasn't got pushed across the finish line yet. But I think as a whole, when you look at the state as a whole, there is still an appetite for lower taxes. So even like in the Kansas City area, I think all of their freezes and caps went into effect. In Osage and Perry County, they did the senior property tax freeze, and those passed with huge margins, which the senior property tax freeze, that continues to be one of the most popular bills in the state. But then again, in Christian County, where it's just south of Springfield, in the like Nixa area, their property tax freeze, just like in St. Charles County, it failed. So a little all over the map, but as a whole, what we're seeing is that there's still an appetite for lower taxes, and so we're still pushing hard for property tax reforms, the zero income tax this year. So we're still on it to try to save people money and make government affordable.
We are visiting with Niles Stevens for Mo Tax Relief now, and of course, to that end, Jefferson County and Franklin County, the property tax freeze passed in those areas. So there were far more. I think it was on the ballot, 97 counties, I think it was something like that. It passed far more than it failed. So is there momentum regarding future tax reform, whether it's property tax or the income tax? Because this round of elections, I've got to think that the establishments, that they really looked at this as the first battleground, because the left has made it very, very clear. They want to preserve the ability to raise taxes. They want more of your money. And so a lot of areas in the state, voters have said we've had enough. St. Charles County is one of the most populous, most influential parts of the state, and they said no, and it's ostensibly a red area. So does this affect the momentum behind the debates over taxes in Missouri at all?
I don't think that it affects the momentum. I think that there's still an appetite for lower taxes. I don't think that the property tax freeze, just the way that it came through the legislature was very popular, the way that it was done, because that was, Senate Bill 3 was tied to the stadium funding. So the stadium funding was very unpopular in St. Charles County, but people still want lower taxes. And so, again, it's kind of a split personality voter there, where they voted in St. Charles County. They didn't raise their sales tax for the fire departments, but they voted against, the property tax freeze. So Senate Bill 3 in general, I don't think was very popular, but people still want lower taxes. And I think that when you look across Missouri, what you see the macro level for the whole state, people still want lower taxes. They still feel like we can do better when it comes to making Missouri a growth state. And in order to be a growth state, you have to have low taxes, low regulation, pro-business policies in place. I think we're still trying to figure out how to get there, and this election kind of shows that.
Niles, one of the things I was mentioning earlier is I feel like a lot of this may come down to ballot language, messaging and ballot language. Because, I was familiar with the issues because we've covered them here on the station. But when I got in there and looked at the ballot language, as a conservative and someone who is sort of instinctively anti-tax, my initial reaction to the sales tax propositions was to say no, because the wording there starts out by saying, do you want to raise sales tax by 1%? But then it explains, that there's that offset. I just wonder if there's a way, we can work on somehow improving or clarifying ballot language so people get the TLDR version of, what is the ultimate effect of this measure? Because I think that might be what throws some people off.
I agree. Yes, the ballot language, I think it's purposely confusing in some cases. And then also the messaging from the taxing districts is usually confusing. So when they want more of your money, they purposely make it confusing. So that's why we did have a House bill that Ben Keithley had filed this year to try to clean up that language so that a taxing district can't say that it's a no increase shift or a no increase bond issue, things that are meant to deceive voters. We would like to get rid of those types of things to make it clear that, hey, this is the amount that your taxes will go up if you vote yes. This is the amount that they will go down if you vote no. And to try to make sure that the voters, when they walk into the polling place, because I've seen it yesterday, I was at the polls all day long at Wildwood City Council or Wildwood City Hall, and people would ask, hey, what ward are you in? And they don't know what ward they're in. They're not sure about who to vote for the library or for the St. Louis Community College Board. So a lot of people walk in there and they don't have a great idea about what they're voting on. So to clean up some of that language is very important. So I'm really hopeful that Ben's bill gets passed to make sure that it's super clear. This is the amount that your taxes will go up or down when you vote yes or no.
And, of course, we're going to be talking about that on April 30th. This is going to be the Road to Zero Income Tax Town Hall, and Niles and Dennis's team there at Mo Tax Relief Now, Americans for Prosperity Missouri, News Talk STL. We're all teaming up to bring you this April 30th. Senator Nick Schroer, State Representative Ben Keithley, going to be there talking about that very bill that Niles is talking about right now. So if you go to Americans for Prosperity's website, you can RSVP. It is a free event, but you do need to RSVP. So April 30th, I'm going to be there. Niles, I'm assuming you're going to be there as well, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to be there. We're excited for this one. The zero income tax, HB 173, did pass through the Senate committee yesterday, and so it is still moving through the process at the state level. And the messaging is going to be important on that. The ballot language is going to be important on that because we want to get rid of the income tax and we want to quit taxing our labor, taxing our creativity. So that's a very important bill.
Yeah, because and then at that point it goes to the voters at some point, assuming that it goes through the rest of the legislative session. So that means this income tax town hall on April 30th is going to be really, really important, including those who aren't sure or even disagree with us. Come on out, bring your questions. It's a town hall. Let's have the conversation. And Niles, you're actually hoping to have a little more direct say in these things starting next year.
Yes, I am on the ballot. The filing just closed for the state level at the end of March. So I am on the ballot for House District 110. That was the seat where Justin Sparks was our state representative. It is an open seat this year, and I am really excited to get in there and start digging into the budgets, the numbers, the appropriations, the ballot language. So our campaign's going fantastic, and I met a lot of voters yesterday at the polling place, and really excited about working at the state level.
All right, and we've already tagged you on social media. Do you have a campaign website up yet?
NilesForMissouri.com.
Easy enough. All right, we'll talk to you again soon. I'm sure I'll talk to you before the 30th, but I'll definitely see you on the 30th, Niles.
Yeah, we'll see you then. Thanks, Mike.
You got it.
Thanks so much,
Susie.
Niles. Well, I don't know if you know this, but no civilizations were annihilated last night.
Oh, okay. I thought there was going to be that one.
Well, there was talk about it.
Okay.
There was serious talk about it, but it didn't happen. But we'll tell you more about that coming up in the news dump at 6:50.
Things you're saying.
News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you very, very much.
News Talk STL.
When the storm hits and a tree comes down, you need someone you can trust right now. OLI Outdoor Services in Godfrey is on call 24/7 for emergency tree removal, trimming, stump grinding, and land clearing. Serving Illinois and Missouri with licensed, insured professionals and over 200 years of combined experience. Tree removal starting at just $2.99. Free estimates, plus financing. Visit OLIOutdoorServices.com or call 1-888-5-SAWING.
Hi, this is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the region's largest RE/MAX real estate brokerage. It is cold outside, but the real estate market is hot. This is a great time to buy or sell a home. Interest rates are also declining, which gives you more buying power. Someday is not a day on the calendar, but today is. Call me at 314-852-8933 for a free custom home buying plan. 314-852-8933.
I'm in my late 60s. My husband died a few years ago. He did all of our taxes. I sold a piece of property last year, and I forgot to claim the proceeds of the sale. Next thing I know, I got a letter from the IRS telling me that I owe over $50,000. Now I have a huge tax problem. I don't have that kind of money. I wish I knew who to call.
If you sold property in the last calendar year or didn't claim all of your part-time or even retirement income, you could be in big trouble with the IRS. Call first before they send you a letter. If you've already got a letter, call. We'll help you file years of past tax returns and save you time and money. So call the tax doctor. The call is confidential and free.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
I'm Congressman Bob Onder, and you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
All right, about a 5 or 6 on the Susie dance scale.
Oh, she was grooving
It's
there.
got the head bob going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She had the arms going, too, for a minute.
Oh, I missed the arms. Yep, there it is. All right, let's see here. Votes are in, and some conservatives did not do so well in a red area of the region here. So we'll get into that. As Susie was just saying a second ago, so it turns out that the president did not kill a whole civilization never to be brought back again after threatening on social media to vaporize 90 million people. And the Cards, Blues, and Battlehawks all played last night. Got the results for you here. All right, 6:50. Let's go and do another news dump here.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out. They got all the news. The morning news dump.
All right, so we just talked about all of the tax votes on the issues, which were kind of all over the map throughout the metro area.
Yeah. Very much a mishmash.
The exact same question passes in several areas, fails in some other areas. 2 of the 3 big counties in the area that were voting on a property tax freeze, they passed it. St. Charles County does not. St. Louis County voters were not permitted to vote on that. That was part of the deal of the stadium funding thing. St. Louis County politicians, all Democrats, wanted to make sure that St. Louis County voters did not have the option to freeze property taxes because that's the way that they roll.
That's how they roll.
Yep. All right. Around the metro, those mixed feelings on the ballot here, but get this. In St. Charles County, in the race for the Francis Howell School Board, the conservative slate of candidates, we're talking about Jane Duker, Lauren Greenwood, and David Jaworski, they all lost.
Jane Pushkar.
David Jaworski. Yeah, Jane Pushkar. They all lost. And it was a pretty clear line between the winners and the losers.
Yeah, that is concerning. I mean, I don't know a lot of Francis Howell parents, but I just feel like there's got to be, I don't know.
There was an all-out assault by teachers' unions and the public school establishment and the media to demonize the conservatives who are running on a platform of we should not be giving pornography to school children and we shouldn't be grooming them and we should not be essentially making the schools indoctrination centers for left-wing thought. That's what was demonized.
Yeah.
And you know what? The leftist voters showed up.
Well, and apparently that, at least this time around, that worked. So time to regroup and rethink.
Yeah, that means
the
Francis Howell School District is now solidly, pretty much unanimously in the hands of the left. So it's been lost. It's been lost by the conservatives completely at this point. Yeah. All right. The United States and Iran agreed to a 2-week ceasefire-ish. It's
sort of.
It's a ceasefire in name. I don't know that it's completely in practice yet.
No, I mean, you had to recognize that there was going to be some time for the information to filter down to that sort of thing. But there is still, it's still going on.
And of course, this is after the president gave his warning on social media, which I'll politely call it a warning. We'll get into the story here in a second.
I was going to say, as of this morning, it appears that everybody besides the U.S. is still firing missiles in some capacity.
Yeah.
So.
Well, here's what happened from Greg Cluxton.
In stark and violent language, the president had warned that Iran's whole civilization would die and never be brought back again unless his demands were met. Shortly before the deadline, Donald Trump announced a suspension in military attacks subject to Iran's agreement. Iran's Supreme National Security Council accepted the ceasefire but said it doesn't mean an end to the war. The Iranian foreign minister said passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be allowed for the next 2 weeks under Iranian military management. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Let me go ahead and get to the spoiler part of this. The war's not over. There will be more stuff blown up.
Yeah, I mean, it's happening.
Yeah.
Even as we speak.
Literally as we speak.
Yeah. I mean, like I was saying earlier, the IDF did say, in accordance with the directives from the political echelon, where the IDF has ceased fire in operation against Iran. But that was 3 hours ago, so I don't know what's happened since then.
It'll change minute to minute. Okay, Justice Department announcing on Tuesday that it is creating a division to focus on public sector fraud nationwide. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche stressing the importance of the new operations, the new division.
With over $1 trillion at stake every single year, threatened by increasingly sophisticated and opportunistic fraudsters, the time for this comprehensive and coordinated approach is now.
Assistant Attorney General Colin McDonald was confirmed by the Senate last month to lead the new division. This should be something that should not be controversial.
Well, no, it shouldn't be at all. I mean, the fact that there's been this much going on and that nothing has really been done about it for all these years is just, it's a travesty.
Right. Yep. All right. At 8:05, just a programming note, we are announcing the next News Talk STL event.
Woohoo.
And it is connected to what I would say is the most important local election in the St. Louis area of 2026. So 8:05, you can get that information here. All right. Boy, I tell you one thing, if there's anything that is actually uniting people right now, it's Artemis.
Yeah.
We're rooting. We're rooting for these
astronauts.
How can
you not?
I know. That's at least we've got that. So the crew, 4 astronauts aboard Artemis 2, actually got on the phone and connected, not the phone, but they connected with the
on the horn.
They got on the horn with the International Space Station. And by the way, they could talk clearly, and our phone system here sometimes
our tin can and string doesn't quite work as well.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, right after they passed the moon on their way back to Earth, they connected with the International Space Station for a short conversation. NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman joins Fox Fox's America Reports on an update on the mission.
This is a first of its kind. This is the first time astronauts have ever been on this rocket. This is the first time astronauts have ever been on Orion before. Having a clean mission like this so far gives us the confidence for Artemis 3, and of course when we land astronauts back on the moon with Artemis 4.
And Artemis 2 astronauts should be back to Earth on Friday. Yep. Boy, I wonder what time. Do we know what time they're supposed? I'm sure they know what time. I just didn't look it up.
Yeah.
I hope it's during the show. I want to carry it live.
I'll look it up while we're talking.
Okay, the Battle Hawks came in with one of the top defenses in the league, but they just could not contain the UFL's top offense last night. Battle Hawks lost 31-15 to the Renegades in Dallas in front of a massive crowd of 5,000 people. Jeez, they've got the number one offense, and nobody shows up to their games. Battle Hawks will be back at the Dome this coming weekend on Sunday.
There will be more people there.
Yes, where 30+ thousand will be there to watch them play the Birmingham Stallions. Battlehawks are now 1-1.
Splashdown is currently scheduled for 8:07 p.m. Eastern. Sorry, not during the show.
All right. The Cardinals scored twice in the 10th inning to get the win over the Nationals in D.C. In the 7th inning, Jordan Walker. I've been saying for a couple years, this guy's got the potential. The team's just mismanaged him. Now he's coming to life. He's doing what we think we all knew he could do. Jordan Walker had another home run. That is his 4th home run already this season. Nathan Church also had a home run. That was in the 8th inning. Final game of the series is this afternoon at 3:05. It's one game apiece at this point. Redbirds have Michael McGreevy on the mound. The Nationals have former Cardinal Miles Michaelis and his 14 ERA.
Ooh.
He got shellacked his first time out. Blues ended up on the wrong side of a 3-1 game against the Avalanche at Enterprise. Robert Thomas had the only goal. Up next, another home game on Thursday against the Jets.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. We're sitting here with our great friend, Chris Cooper. Hi, Chris.
What's going on, Vic? How are you?
I hear you wrote another book. This one's an e-book. Is that right?
The Business Owner's Playbook for Financial Clarity. So it is a great book for entrepreneurs. It's a very short guide. Give people, business owners, the ability to understand key questions that are important, such as succession planning, legacy planning, getting the IRS out of our pockets, right? Because do you like paying taxes?
I do not.
I don't think anybody likes paying taxes, right? That just makes sense. And then always talking about protection. And then the other thing from a business owner perspective, what is the biggest asset a business owner has? Probably their business itself, right? We need to make sure we understand what the value of that business is as well.
So this new book, I'm sure, is incredibly expensive, right? How much?
No, it's a free resource.
Oh, it's free.
We provide guidance, we provide education because we want to make sure people feel educated and understanding because sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, and we need to make sure we help arm people with information to ask the right question.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Game day comfort steps up to the plate Saturday, April 11th, when the Cardinals face the Boston Red Sox downtown. That night, fans can score a Cardinals dugout hoodie presented by Mercy, built for cool nights, late innings, and early season baseball. It's a classic, easy-to-wear layer you'll reach for all year long. Available in medium or extra large while supplies last. Don't miss this spring matchup. Get tickets and details at cardinals.com/promotions.
Every Sunday home game is a Kids Sunday at Busch Stadium. From Team Fredbird and games to a kid-friendly DJ, ice cream, and family-favorite activities. Sundays are built for young fans. Plus, select Sundays feature kids run the bases after the game. It's a day made for smiles, memories, and Cardinals baseball together. Make Sundays your family tradition at Busch Stadium. Tickets and details at cardinals.com/KidsSunday.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at
NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. President Trump is hailing the 2-week U.S.-Iran truce, although it apparently has yet to fully take effect.
Sirens in Tel Aviv early Wednesday, while alerts of potential Iranian missiles also sounded across the Gulf region, even after President Trump said the U.S. and Iran had agreed to a 2-week ceasefire. That less than 2 hours before the deadline he'd set for Tehran to capitulate or face what he threatened would be the death of a whole civilization. Iran's Supreme National Security Council said it had accepted the truce and negotiations with the U.S. would begin in Pakistan's capital Friday. Iran state broadcaster quoted the foreign minister as saying passage through the Strait of Hormuz would be allowed, though in coordination with Iran's military. I'm Ben Thomas.
During his current visit to Hungary, Vice President Vance suggested dealing with the Iranians can be quite tricky, to say the least.
You have people who clearly want to come to the negotiating table and work with us to find a good deal. And then you have people who are lying about even the fragile truce that we've already struck.
Israel says a ceasefire will not keep it from striking Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. It's been doing more of that this morning. Word of the truce has Wall Street futures flying high, along with overseas stock markets, and oil prices have tumbled, dropping below $100 per barrel. Secretary of State Rubio confirming the release of American freelance journalist Shelley Kittleson, kidnapped last week in Iraq. Republican Clay Fuller has won Marjorie Taylor Greene's former U.S. House seat in Georgia. Fuller's special election win bolstering a slim GOP majority in the House. President Trump had endorsed Fuller. And on Wall Street, Dow futures up 1,318 points. The NASDAQ futures ahead 852. More on these stories, townhall.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I had a lot of credit card debt, and it stressed me out. But what I thought was a solution turned out to be a problem. I kept hearing ads about debt settlement that seemed too good to be true. And actually, it was. When I called, they told me to stop paying my bills. That didn't sound right to me at all, so I hung up. Later, I found out that debt settlement is bad, real bad. Then I learned that there is a right way to pay off your credit cards. It's called a debt management program from the great team at Trinity. Trinity had a plan. In the end, I paid off my bills, I saved thousands, and I even improved my credit score.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Good morning. I'm First Alert 4 meteorologist Chance Scotch, and we're going to be tracking a warmer day, a little bit breezier. Highs eventually back towards the mid-70s, widespread, going to be seeing winds gusting up to 25 miles per hour out of the south. Then into Thursday, mostly sunny skies. Could be seeing a stray shower or two, but the bulk of us remain dry. By Friday, increased chances of widespread showers, and a couple isolated chances of showers and storms Saturday, Sunday, with increased chances into early portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shane Scotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. This year, America turns 250, and News Talk STL is celebrating our nation's semi-quincentennial all year long. News Talk STL, #1 for live and local Soros-free talk, with proud supporters of our 250th birthday celebration. Freddy's Market, Iron Bear Customs, and STL Windows and Doors. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Everyone deserves a safe place to call home. Cedar Oak in High Ridge is a unique ministry providing more than just shelter. They offer hope, support, and a compassionate community for individuals rebuilding their lives. Since 2023, they've helped those facing housing challenges, especially when addiction has been part of their journey. At Cedar Oak, you'll find personalized care, empowerment, and real long-term solutions. Take the next step. Visit cedaroak.org. Cedar Oak, where new beginnings take root.
Mike Ferguson.
What is that private pile? Sir, jelly donut, sir! A jelly donut?
Susie Moore.
Mama don't like tattletales.
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice. Drain the swamp and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, grooming kids for sex is now illegal in Missouri as of yesterday.
It should always have been.
It was not always illegal, but don't get mad at like government lawmakers because it just wasn't defined. The abuse of kids, of course, has always been illegal and prosecuted pretty aggressively. in Missouri. I'm sure there are many cases that need to be addressed that haven't. But the governor signed 3 bills into law yesterday, the first ones of 2026.
Okay.
And among those is a law that now defines from a criminal perspective what grooming is.
All right.
Because that was never on the books before. So like you could say, what's grooming somebody, and then it leads to the abuse, and then the abuse is prosecuted. Well, that's still prosecuted, but now somebody could if they're trying to get a kid into that sort of vulnerability, they could be prosecuted.
Say, I feel like it's one of those concepts that has kind of become more understood in recent years. Like everybody understands what child sexual abuse is,
right?
Or sexual abuse in general, but just particularly with kids.
Yep.
And the grooming aspect of it, as a concept, has really just come to the forefront over the past, decade and a half.
Well, especially as all of the ways to get around parents, technologically, has
for sure.
happened. I mean, it's called Evie and Sophie's Law. That's what the bill was named, and this was named after 2 Missouri teenagers. Madison Royer discovered a man in his 50s and was manipulating her younger sisters, and I guess that's Evie and Sophie. And she learned that Missouri was one of 36 states that does not define grooming by law. It just doesn't define it.
No longer.
So essentially, what you've got here is that it just gives prosecutors new tools to charge offenders. So this is going to go into effect, as most laws do. They go into effect in August. That's not immediate.
August 28th.
Right. And so the quote in the article on Channel 4, let's see here, Madison says, by creating this anti-grooming law, we're looking to address these gaps that make it so children can be protected from enticement, can be protected from grooming. So grooming, essentially, let me give you the Cliff's Notes version, pattern of predatory behaviors, compliments, gift giving, intending to lure a minor into a romantic or a sexual relationship. So here's the question: is the act itself, the abuse? Obviously, there's clear laws on that in Missouri. And is there from a legal perspective potentially any issues with, well, you know what, you bought him lunch, so you gave him something, even if you're creepy, the prosecutors must now say that was with the intent of.
It you know what, it could be difficult. It could be one that's difficult to actually prosecute and find someone criminally liable, get beyond a reasonable doubt, because it seems to me like it might get into those situations where there's some ambiguity.
Yeah.
And impropriety, generally speaking, isn't going, you can't say that's illegal.
Right.
So that where that line actually ends up coming and where you can actually get a conviction, that's going to be interesting to watch it play out.
Here's going to be my guess, and you're the lawyer here, so I may be completely out in left field on this, is that this is likely to be prosecuted after they find an actual victim, and then they can also get them for the abuse, but then get them for the grooming that led to the abuse, so they can add charges and sentencing to it. But it sounds like it's going to be something that's going to be hard to catch and prosecute prior to the abuse. And then, because at this point it's like, well, he said I look nice. The guy at the
I was just thinking
board
about
thing,
that. I was just thinking about that.
That was creepy.
That's not, I don't even think you could call that grooming anyway. That was just offensive.
That was just really stupid. But also things like clear stuff, giving a kid, child pornography, giving a kid erotic material, giving a kid all that kind of stuff. So that would, from the way I'm reading this, that would be included, and something as egregious like that should be something that could be prosecuted and caught, and a little bit easier rather than giving them gifts or flowers or anything like that.
Well, Mike,
buying them a new pair of shoes or whatever.
I don't know how to break this to you, but I'm going to bestow you with an honorary Juris Doctor, because you got that exactly right. This is probably not something that's going to be prosecuted in isolation. It's going to be tacked on to the actual abuse, which, then you can kind of say, well, okay, well, is it really doing anything? Well, it is. It's actually giving authorities another avenue in which to prosecute and hold people responsible.
Right.
But standing alone, I think it'll be unusual to see that actually prosecuted to fruition.
And it would be hard to do that sometimes.
Yeah, very much so. You're almost getting at a thought crime.
Right.
Almost.
Right. Exactly. So, you may have to do in connection, which, you know what, if you've got somebody who abuses kids and we catch them and we can hit them harder with something else, great.
Great. Exactly.
Then it's there. I mean, but you think about it, who is probably the most egregious in providing children with sexual materials and pornographic materials in Missouri? Public schools. They're not getting prosecuted.
I don't actually know if you can prosecute a school.
Right, but you can't prosecute the librarian. You can't
Right, the
prosecute the
individuals.
teacher. You know, you should be able to, but some of the most overt grooming of kids happens in Missouri's public schools right now and across the country.
And the people that are opposing that didn't get retained for school board.
Exactly.
So there's that to take into consideration.
But overall, you've got something that if it's used right, then good. Because like the thought crime, I always worry about the thought crime on this. Like, for instance, I think about, like, for instance, my brother is a pastor. And before he was a pastor, he was a youth leader and youth pastor. And he was always incredibly careful to make sure that there was, the above reproach, thing. Just never, ever even put yourself in a position where somebody could question it. And he was always really careful because people will make accusations. Now, he's never been accused of anything and, nothing like that. But we know people who have, and sometimes they did it and sometimes they didn't. Sometimes it's just, some kid who gets mad and is disgruntled and is like, he touched me, or he tried to get me to come to his, something like that. So you've got to be exceptionally careful anyway. So I'm sure at some point there's going to be some unintended consequence, but the overall good and bad is clearly in favor of this is a good thing to add without any doubt.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't even be putting yourself in a position where it's questionable to start with.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Well, Kathleen was talking basically in line with that as well with schools and how sometimes it is the teachers or the school counselors that are inserting certain thoughts or feeding into certain thoughts or behaviors that then end up creating division within the home. I know that there is a children's band called the Wiggles that actually their signature thing is that they have like the finger guns pointing outwards. So that way, whenever you take photos with the kids, there's never a question of where their hands are at.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is a matter of how do you prove intent? And I think when it comes to grooming, there are different degrees that should be easily provable, but it's very difficult to say, hey, so like I've done tutoring with young high school and young college age people. And there are times where they are like, hey, I don't know who else to really talk to about this, but here's kind of what I'm dealing with. Here's what I'm going through. And and it's not that I would encourage or discourage one way or another. It's just letting them have the conversation. Right. But if through these conversations later on, they make a decision and then it comes out that they were talking to me this entire time about that, then do I have to worry about, am I going to have to prove I was not grooming them?
Exactly.
Yeah, there's the To Catch a Predator level of stuff like that show. That's easy. That's the easy stuff, but it's the other things that, again, will probably be more ex post facto, after the fact that, okay, this led to the crime. We prosecuted the crime. Okay, we've got you on this as well. Here's another 5 years.
Yeah.
Now, Vicky's fired up, and I feel you, Vicky. So she's saying in regards to the Francis House School Board members and what could be going on with now they can't fight the pornography in schools. Parents deserve what they got. They didn't show up to vote. So they deserve whatever comes next. Is that the right approach to taking this?
Yeah. I mean, it's like the city in St. Louis. They voted to keep the earnings tax. You deserve what you get at this point. Yeah. And so, school choice is even more important now. Last minute or so on this. Another bill the governor signed into law, the divorce bill.
Yeah.
Now, normally conservatives are not like, yay, divorce.
Well, right.
But what we're talking about here is up until, technically right now, up until August, it is illegal for a divorce to be granted if the woman is pregnant.
Correct.
And that was a law passed in the 70s. I don't know what went into that law in the 70s. Divorce was less common, obviously back then.
Yeah,
it was
I think that's when it was starting to become more common.
Yeah. And
so just to clarify, is it separation is illegal as well?
No,
or just
no.
divorce?
No, they would not basically grant the decree of dissolution if the woman is pregnant.
They wouldn't deny the divorce, but you couldn't do it while she was pregnant.
Right.
Until the child was born, then they would revisit.
But you could still separate if for some reason you were not safe. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And so this bill has been around. It's been tried a few times. Cecily Williams from Jefferson County. She's been on a number of our shows. I've talked to Cecily. She told her personal story of being, she said she was in an abusive marriage and she had her divorce denied. because she was pregnant. And so that pushed the needle over, and the governor signed this. So now basically, pregnancy is not going to be a factor in divorce in Missouri whatsoever.
Keep someone from finalizing those things. I just want to add, I know I keep talking about this, but I have been listening to so many of those true crime podcasts. And one of the things that keeps coming up over and over and over again, and this is just undeniably true, the most dangerous time for a woman is when she's in the process of leaving her partner. The vast majority of, domestic situations that would result in, serious injury or fatality come from that situation. And imagine putting on top of that, being a young mother, having small children, being pregnant. So you've already got other things that you have to worry about too. So it's good that this is a good law that should have been passed.
Yeah, I mean, it's
not that divorce is good,
right.
but if someone needs to get away from an abusive relationship, this needs to be able to happen.
And it will also, there will be many other divorces that have no abuse in them. They just don't like each other
Absolutely.
anymore. And she happens to be pregnant, with a variety of other things. But in this case, that law was used in these cases. And, listen, divorce is not good. Divorce is bad.
No.
It really is. But, if two people don't want to be married or somebody doesn't want to be married, it's not the government's job to say you must do it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Well, we kind of been talking about this a little bit, but where were the conservative votes in St. Charles County yesterday? Because seems like some of them are missing. At 7:20, we'll review election results from there and from around the region.
Don't try to make me stop, no inspiration. You have a soul so dark, it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. Making cold my heart to fight your war. Stop it right now.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Everybody wants me to dance. Could you imagine FDR dancing?
On News Talk STL.
Blow us all away. You wanna do that now? Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin.
We talk a lot about Mario's Donuts because we get them here in the radio station, and I think everybody will attest that there is a difference when you get those fresh donuts made right here as opposed to the sort of dry corporate ones that are shipped to the gas station. Don't do those. If you're going to do a donut, do it right. Go visit my friends at Mario's Donut Restaurant up on Mugie Road, mariosdonutrestaurant.com. But let me also remind you about a couple things. One, you can go hang out there, get a cup of coffee, grab yourself a pastry, grab yourself a breakfast sandwich, grab an omelet. Yes, you can get healthy stuff at Mario's. Trust me, you can do that. But they can also cater your breakfast meeting. They can cater that little small group Bible study. They can cater all of that. They can also do lunch. They can even cater your dinner or your office party or your birthday party. Mario's Donut Restaurant, they just revamped their entire menu. They updated it. It's awesome. Check it out. And let me tell you something. You're not going to go wrong with those donuts. You're just not going to do it. Even I have a donut or two each when the Mario's comes in here this week, and I love the Mario's donuts. But they've got everything from breakfast sandwiches, like I said, and omelets to tiramisu, desserts for dinner. They are a full-on restaurant. They're just known for those donuts, which are amazing. Mario's Donut Restaurant on Mugie Road. Put it in your maps. Going on into work or going to school, stop in, grab yourself a great cup of coffee and donuts, and tell them Mike says hi.
Columbo and Company.
Join us every day for conversations with a wide variety of guests as we keep you informed and up to speed on all the important news and headlines you need to know.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Looking for insurance you can truly trust? Since 1986, Bauer Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses across Missouri and Illinois. Owner Cindy Blanton doesn't just offer one quote. She shops all the top carriers like Progressive, Travelers, Safeco, and more to find you the best rates. Whether it's your home, auto, toys, or business, we've got you covered. Visit us at Mid-Rivers Mall in St. Peters or call 636-812-2001. Bauer Insurance Agency, the company that protects. The name you can trust.
Hi, I'm Jen Wallner.
And I'm Rodney Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Rodney, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission rate?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
When's the best time to sell your home?
Right now. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
Hey, Jamie Allman here, looking for the ultimate escape? Well, welcome to Santino's, where luxury meets authenticity in a stunning 6,000 square foot destination. Browse hundreds of premium cigars in the walk-in humidor. Explore more than 700 bottles of whiskey. Whether it's their non-smoking wine room, gaming lounge with custom poker tables, it's Santino's just off Highway 55 at the Imperial exit. See them at Santino'sCigarCocktails.com. That's Santino'sCigarCocktails.com.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new NewsTalk STL app
Love the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
and listen anytime, anywhere.
This is Kirk Hilsinger, chairman of the St. Louis City Republican Party. Connect with us at stl-gop.com. And now back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
A lot of people around the area talking about what happened to St. Charles. I mean, conventional wisdom says St. Charles is a red area. You know, Democrats need not apply. You know, this is a conservative area, but that's not how St. Charles voted yesterday.
Nope.
It's not. 722 right now. Also, I want to get to this thing in Festus. Did you see what happened in Festus?
I heard about it. I didn't
Okay.
actually
The
dig in.
data center thing, people are really angry over that. Now, you know, we've had a lot of conversations about data centers and what's the reality to them, what's the myth of them, and that sort of thing. A lot of people are acting, you know, based on fear, and I don't know that everybody has all the facts, but some people, they research it and they still don't like it. Okay, that's fair, you know. But what happened in Festus kind of sent shockwaves through that part of Jeffco as well. So we'll start in St. Charles County. We're going to get to Jeffco here as well. It is 722 right now. That's Susie. That's Jerome. My name is Mike. Francis Howell School District voters.
What were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, one, when the candidates run on slates, unofficial slates, which is what we had, because there could have been any mix of candidates elected in there, but they run basically on slates. So you had the slate of those who are conservative, the ones on the right, and then you had the slate who were the establishment teachers union, NEA supported left. And it was a pretty clear line. The voters in the Francis Howell School District chose the left.
Yep.
And all the conservatives were trying to do was hold serve so that they only had a 1-seat minority.
Right.
Now,
These were the incumbents.
right. Well, James.
Oh, James is the incumbent.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, you know, Lauren and David were obviously trying to win
Get
seats
onto the
to
board.
replace other conservatives who are not going to be back on the board. So now what you have here is essentially the entire Francis Howell School District in a fairly red area, a red area of a red county in Francis Howell. It is now completely going to be owned by the left. So the teachers' unions have to be happy. The administrators have to be happy. The LGBT activists have to be happy. The Black Lives Matter activists, I mean, all of these have to be thrilled with those results. And I know there's somebody watching and listening to us right now going, well, I never thought of it that way.
Maybe you should have.
I just thought that I was voting for the ones who just support public schools because that's the messaging that they got.
Right.
But now remember what a lot of these battles was over the LGBT indoctrination, was over the pornography in the libraries, was over the social justice warrior-y stuff, was over the pronouns, was over the bathrooms. That's what Jane's been fighting this whole time, and voters rejected the common sense conservatives thing. So it's not that Lauren and Jane and David were unclear about what they stood for. They stood for very clear principles. Voters said no to that in St. Charles County.
I think that a lot of people in the St. Charles area still have that idea that they are at this deep red area. And to PMS's credit, in our chat box on Rumble, he's been saying for a very long time, raising the alarm, that it's become more purple, more blue in a lot of areas. And I think that, you know, he's absolutely vindicated in this because it looks like the blue people were the ones that showed up the other day.
I think it's that because obviously you have the continued expansion, people from St. Louis County,
Right.
you know, moving further west, that sort of
It's
thing.
like
So-
California going to Texas.
Exactly.
And they bring their stupid
You have-
ideas.
you have that. But you also have this concept that is, I think, ingrained in us, particularly those of us who were products of the public school system, that public schooling and public education is this innate good.
Mm-hmm.
And anything that supports it must be supported, as opposed to quality education, whether that's public, private, homeschool, whatever it is, being the good. So there's this sort of knee-jerk reaction to protect our public schools. I mean, I even have that. I of course, benefited from going, from attending a good public school district, but definitely probably doesn't align with me politically these days, a lot of the leadership there. But I just think there's this innate sense that you have to protect the schools.
Right.
So people kind of clamor for that, and I think they gravitate towards that messaging.
Yeah, they did not run on a platform of more pornography for kids.
No, no.
They didn't run on a platform of George Floyd endorsed.
No.
That's not what they did. That was the covert. That's going to be basically the result.
Yeah.
Is that they now don't have to deal with these pests who want to get rid of books that, teach kids how to have gay sex in the fourth grade. And so that's going to be the end result. But yeah, I think that's the messaging exactly, Susie. That's exactly the messaging that I think people are up against on this. I am one of those that after all these years of covering these things, I mean, going back to my days as a journalist when I was still doing newspapers back in the day, I covered public schools. I covered a couple of different districts in addition to a city hall. And so I'm particularly jaded from my, almost 30 years in the news and the media industry. Because I just kind of assume that they have bad intentions until they show otherwise, and then I'm pleasantly surprised if they don't. And then during the time that Rachel's boys were still living at home, and the stories that they would bring home from the Maplewood Richmond Heights School District were horrific. The stuff that the teachers' unions and the apologists say it doesn't happen. Yeah, it happens, and it's happening in probably every public school. There's a reason that they want to make it so hard for parents to enter that building, that they want it to make it so hard for parents to go in and see what's happening.
I wonder too if it's part of it is this sort of this kind of subconscious. We're moving further away from COVID. It's further in the rearview mirror, and that was a time that really highlighted these issues for parents because of the fact that everything went remote, and so parents were exposed, pardon the language, to what their kids were being exposed to in a way that they aren't under normal circumstances.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Last couple minutes here. I want to shift gears. So St. Charles County down to Jefferson County.
Okay.
In Festus, we've been covering the controversy over the data center. It's going to be like a $6 billion, $6 billion project to build a data center there. The city council is moving forward with the project. There's been no final plan. It's not had a final approval, but basically they've set things up to get a plan in, and so that this thing can be built. 4 of their city council members were up for re-election last night. They were all thrown out.
Wow.
By the Festus voters. Festus voters are mad, and there's no question it was about the data center. Only 3 of the 4 supported the data center. One of them just got washed out with the rest of them. I think
collateral damage.
Yeah, collateral damage. I think it was like a matter of throw all the bums out, even if they're not bums. But that was the mindset, and 3 of those who supported the data center project, they got tossed out on their keister in the elections last night. So that is a massive, massive question. Now, and this, I'm not addressing whether the data center project's a good idea or a bad idea. I'm just saying is that voters made it really clear that they are mad that that the council was moving forward with it. I don't know how you can read it any other way.
I think it's a very clear message.
Yeah.
But, I just want to say this from 30,000-foot view, bully for the voters. Like, that's the voters sending a very clear message to their elected leaders.
I would also like to send a very clear message to our listeners real quick, because, Mike, you know what today is, right?
It is Bump Day! Wait a minute, Susie didn't say it.
Bump Day!
There we go.
There we go. Now it's a proper Bump Day! It's a day that we ask all of you to send us your 80s themed bump music requests for Flashback Friday. This week's theme...
Oh, come on.
You already know what it is.
I saw it.
He saw... Okay, the jig is up. He saw it. I want the songs that you have that can annoy Mike.
Yay!
So send the most annoying 80s songs that you know.
Let's annoy Ferguson.
to Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com.
I get up at 2:30 every morning for you people.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Good morning. I'm First Alert 4 meteorologist Chance Scotch, and we're going to be tracking a warmer day, a little bit breezier. Highs eventually back towards the mid-70s, widespread, going to be seeing winds gusting up to 25 miles per hour out of the south. Then into Thursday, mostly sunny skies. Could be seeing a stray shower or two, but the bulk of us remain dry. By Friday, increased chances of widespread showers and a couple isolated chances of showers and storms Saturday, Sunday, with increased chances into early portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shane Scotch.
Your business moves fast. PRI Global keeps it moving smarter for almost 30 years, delivering top tech talent to help companies grow stronger, custom applications, simplifying your operations, securing your data, modernizing your business from the cloud up. And with Prismatic, you're going to get real-time insights, automated workflows, people, process, platform. PRI Global delivers all three. PRIGlobal.com.
Larry Connor's Commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit VincentsJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's Commentary on News Talk STL.
The rescue of a downed pilot recently deep inside Iran involved a special unit known as PJs, Pararescuemen. Now, taking nothing away from SEAL teams, Delta Force, Marine Recon, Green Berets, PJs specialize in combat search and rescue. Plus, they carry extensive medical gear and, if needed, can even perform surgery. The pilots are trained in SERE, S-E-R-E, survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. And hopefully that gives them a chance. A former A-10 pilot who was shot down 20 years ago during the Iraq War said her SERE training was one thing, but when you have to eject into enemy territory, you have to rely on your training, the SERE training. And she pointed out that a downed pilot has to basically effect their own rescue. In other words, do everything you can to be a good survivor. So the PJs or others can find you, treat you if necessary, and rescue you. She says all this training is valuable, but when you're on the ground, surrounded by the enemy, it is a whole different environment.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Tired of settling for generic fishing gear? Say hello to Bullseye Bait and Tackle, O'Fallon's one-stop shop for serious anglers. Live bait, premium tackle, rods, reels, and an unbeatable selection of lures from top brands like Megabass, Zoom, and Berkley. Whether you're after bass, catfish, crappie, or bluegill, they've got the gear to help you land the big one. Plus, their expert team, led by Mark and Liz, provides rod and reel repair services. Bullseye Bait and Tackle, 266 Fort Zumwalt Square, or at bullseyebaitandtackle.net.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Missouri's laws are clear. Unregulated gaming devices are illegal. Companies have been telling businesses that gray market machines are legal. That's wrong. Don't be scammed. If you have these devices at your business, you could be subject to criminal and civil penalties. Unplug and remove these devices today.
If you've been approached to host illegal gaming machines, call now. 800-523-1434 or visit ago.mo.gov. Sponsored by the Attorney General's Office.
Here's my problem.
Completely agree with your sentiments.
He talks about we're divided. Well, yeah, we are. And we need to wake up as a country and realize what's going on.
101.9 and 94.1.
Number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
The Mike Ferguson Show is one of my favorite programs. In addition to Larry Connors USA, catch my program at 6. Now, back to Mike.
All right, the rescue of the U.S. airmen in Iran,
That's been pushed off the headlines so
Already.
quickly. We know how daring that was. That was a massive operation. Now we're getting word that it was even more complicated and even more interesting than we thought. That was written about in RedState. We're going to get to that in just a moment here. All right, it is 7:35 right now. Before we talk to Teri, Christoph from RedState, Tom had a real quick thought on what happened in Festus. You got the whole data center thing, and then voters pretty mad about it and throwing four of the city council members off, 3 of whom supported the data center. Tom, I got to get to Teri here real quick, but what's your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are I live over in Granite City. Granite City's been investigating doing a data center, and they're claiming it's going to lower property taxes. And, of course, what if the steel mill closes, blah, 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 blah. I don't know whether I'm for or against it, but all I know is it's a big hubbub here in Granite City. So
No, I saw that too. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate you being on there. You know what I liked about what Tom said? He said, I don't know whether I'm for it or against it, meaning Tom's gonna find out what the facts are and then make up his mind. I respect respect the heck out of that. So, all right, 7:36 right now. All right, like I said, the rescue of the U.S. airmen in Iran, man, that was daring, and now we're finding out it was even more complicated and more interesting. And we're talking about this with an article on RedState.com called The Mysterious 4-Digit Code That Led to the Rescue of the U.S. Airmen Hiding in Iran. It was written by Teri Christoph, who joins us right now. And Teri, we knew this was like action movie level type stuff, but now we're talking about further complications or complexities, I should say, that are making the rescue even more impressive.
Yeah. The president did a great press conference earlier in the week where he was joined by Pete Hegseth and the CIA and a bunch of people that were involved. It was a very multi-agency rescue mission, and it has everything it's going to need for a really good movie. It's got trickery, deceit, and daring military might. So we knew the basics. We knew that the 2 had been shot down, and we knew that one was rescued relatively quickly, and that was the pilot. And we knew that the other one kind of had to work his way to a place where he was both safe from the forces that were looking for him on the ground, but also, able to be rescued by the military that was coming for him. And it's going to be a great thing because it's got it all. And the weirdest thing about it that I think is so strange, not weird, but kind of an interesting thing that's just a marker of how modern our warfare and our communications are, is that they looped the airman, the second one that was, hiding for 2 days. His wife was looped into the rescue operation. She was like, I don't know if she was listening, but she was part of it. So I thought, that is the craziest thing. So when this story is made into a movie, it's going to get the women, it's going to get the men. Everyone's going to love this movie.
They are, Teri. And you noted in your article that that there was an epic call sign for this aircraft.
Oh, they were the why am I blanking on it?
Dude 44.
Dude 44.
Dude 44 Alpha was the first, was the pilot. And Dude 44 Bravo was the backseater.
Yep.
And he was a colonel, and that was one of the really intriguing things, which I don't know that we've gotten a lot of information on, is why was a colonel doing this? Because normally that's pretty high ranking to be going and doing these sorties over Iran. So that's one of the pieces that I would like to learn more. I think it just may be that, I have a brother-in-law who served for many years in the Army. They want to be in the action. So I have a feeling it's going to be a great story about this guy.
Yeah, and Teri, we do know that he was hurt. He was hurt pretty bad, but he still made it basically up, at least partway up a mountain, where he sort of hunkered down and held until they could come get him. What was the 4-digit thing all about?
So it turns out, I guess he was doing a code to them to try and, give them some information without giving any information to anybody in the area who might also be listening in that they didn't want to be listening in. And it turned out that it was a law enforcement code, something the police used to say, officer down, need assistance. And it took them a minute to figure out what it was, but at that point they knew that, okay, this is an American giving us, this kind of standard code. But it kind of then led to them being able to really verify who he was by asking questions about his father. And so they were very, very quickly able to determine that it wasn't somebody pretending and, and some sort of trap that was being set. I think the interesting part that's going to make the story really great is the role of the CIA, which we kind of heard about over the weekend, but it was like, what's the CIA doing? Because I think probably I've written before at RedState that like the CIA isn't known to be really deeply entrenched in Iran, and we use Mossad to get our information. But apparently we're more deeply entrenched than we thought, and they did a sort of, misinformation, disinformation campaign where they have the Iranians running in like 7 different directions, just completely confused about where the 2 airmen were. So it's an all-American operation, and I think we'll probably learn some more interesting details about it. But just an amazing job by our troops, it's a huge effort to save these 2 guys and not leave a man behind, which I think the president really emphasized that was not going to happen on his watch.
What was the platform that messaging was happening on? I mean, it wasn't like he just had a cell phone or something like that. How were they communicating? Because you mentioned trying to make sure that other people basically couldn't decipher what was actually being said and that sort of thing. So what was it that they were talking on?
Now I'm gonna have to defer to Susie on this.
Yeah.
Because I know they're using something new, a newer state of the art thing.
I don't think we're allowed to know that.
We're not allowed to know that? Oh.
I think, well, he had a locator beacon.
He did have that.
I think he had some standard communications equipment, but I think there was another layer to it that is something that maybe everyday people shouldn't know about. But I don't know what it is because I know there's an article out there. I didn't read what it was because some things can be made a mystery. I think he had all the standard stuff. I think there were multiple ways that he could get in touch with somebody, and he had a locator beacon, so they were pretty sure, within a decent area where he was. And then I think he had standard communications, and then there's this other thing. But I think maybe it needs to be a secret.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's probably some of the technology that we're not going to be privy to for good reason. But what really stands out about this operation, too, is just the fact that there was this massive coordination between the military, the CIA, the president, everybody. And everybody was all in on it and committed to that. To it. And it's kind of, I guess, refreshing to see that sort of interagency cooperation on this level.
Yeah. I thought it was very notable, and I thought it was notable how transparent they've been about that operation with the American people, because I think we don't always get this kind of detail information on what's going on there. And I guess it is just kind of, a sign of the times that there's just so many avenues of getting information. But I felt like the administration was really transparent about it. And I appreciated that because I'm definitely one of those people that doesn't want to leave anybody behind. I don't like to see that, We've seen some things before which weren't very pretty. So I just appreciate the transparency that's come out of the administration. And not so much from the CIA. I think they gave as much information as they're going to give us, but just that they did all work together, and that I don't feel like there were a lot of egos involved, and they just wanted to get these 2 guys out of there, which is that's America right there.
Okay, so I'm also fascinated by the idea that his wife was looped in during this, and do we know whether there was anything live? Because that means having her listen in live could be really bad if things had gone in a tragic way, but she was kept up to date. I mean, I'm just picturing for some reason, Teri, hey, we're about to get you. You can let you know your wife's on the line, and then she pops in and is like, hey, honey, you forgot to take out the trash before you got deployed.
I know.
The weeds are getting a little high, just so you know, I've got some things for you when you get home. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think it was actually because they would have gone out of their way to make sure that she was looped in during this whole thing.
Absolutely. And it tells me that there is a need the feeling to take care of the families, to make sure that the families are being supported through all of this, which is also a lovely thing to think is going on. I don't think they gave us too many details, but it did seem like she was not just being kept apprised by phone calls and text. It seems like there was an extra little bit that she was brought into that we don't know yet. And whether that is to keep her calm or to keep him calm, to know that we got your wife's ready, she's waiting to hear from you, to kind of keep him, because he is hurt, he's dehydrated, he's trying to, he was hurt, and he went to a certain level, and they were like, you got to go higher, and then you got to go back. They were making him move all over the place to kind of find him. And so I think that maybe it's that kind of extra, like, hey, we're coming to get you. We got your wife, like she's right here, like she's ready to hear from you. Like maybe it was something that made him, want to really keep fighting. Even if he felt, like maybe he was ready to give up, he was too tired or whatever. Maybe it was that little extra thing. I don't know that we are always going to be able to do that in warfare, but definitely an interesting detail in this rescue. That, like I said, it's going to be a great book, a great movie, and I'm here for it.
Teri, one of the things that I noticed is that you kind of put together your own video, sort of a rundown of the presser as part of your Smart Girl Politics. Tell us a little bit about how you put that together.
Yeah, I'm trying to be a multimedia journalist, and I'm so thankful that RedState lets me share these videos that I make. So I just wanted to pull together the press conference because it went on for a while because, it's a Donald Trump press conference. That's what happens. But kind of pull the really important details just so like in 20 minutes you can kind of hear what the CIA did. Mm-hmm. And then Pete Hegseth kind of offers a little bit about like the operations between the agencies and President Trump, who was in the Oval Office all day Saturday monitoring it. And then what, General Kane came up and just kind of talked about what like all of the military, the rescue team, who it was made up of. So I thought, maybe just kind of pull it all together to really just in 20 minutes know exactly what happened. So that they, like I said, they're extremely transparent, and I don't recall hearing that kind of thing in recent time, like just really getting that detail. So I think like most of us are satisfied that we know exactly what happened there.
Okay, so last couple questions here. One, in the movie, who should play the colonel, who should play the wife, and then what's the website people can find that video?
Okay. So there was like a fake AI image going around of who this guy was, and whoever he was, he looked perfect for the role, but he was AI. So I'm not going to suggest AI. Gosh.
I ask the tough questions on this show. I'm just saying that I do.
That's a tough one.
Brad Pitt's too old.
Who is?
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt's too old. Yeah.
Maybe Ryan Gosling? Or Ryan Reynolds? No, not Ryan Reynolds.
No,
he would be hilarious in that role.
Oh, Glenn, what's his face from the tornado from Twister?
Oh, I know who you're talking
about. Yeah.
There's a lot. I like the AI guy, though. He looks like, that's great right there. But Smart Girl Politics on YouTube is where the video is, but it's also in the RedState article. So people should definitely go to RedState and sign up.
All right, and the website is what? Smartgirlpolitics. What?
Oh, it's a Substack.
Smartgirlpolitics.substack.com. Yeah. Okay. All right, Teri, thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Teri. Hey, you want to find out what our next big event is?
I do.
Okay, well, you better stick around because it involves one of the most important races in this year's elections, and we're going to give you the details at 8:05. I'm going to talk to you about windows. Susie Moore here, talk to you about Window World windows, which are one of only 2 replacement windows with the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. They're also ranked number 1 in the country for number of windows sold by Qualified Remodeler magazine. In just over 20 years in the business, they have improved the look and the thermal efficiency of more than 80,000 homes in St. Louis. And the St. Louis location has been owned, operated, and managed by born and raised St. Louis residents for more than 23 years. Window World products are durable, they are secure, they are energy efficient, and they're beautiful. They also use a double-strength glass that is not commonly used in replacement windows. Plus, with Window World, you get a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. Window World can also help with siding and with doors, and their customer service department is available 7 days a week, which is something a lot of their competitors cannot say. In fact, over half of their appointments come from repeat customers or from referrals, which says a lot about their commitment to customer service. Right now, Window World is offering 36 months, same as cash financing, with approved credit. So if you're thinking it might be time for windows, call for a free in-home estimate. It's 1-800-GET-WINDOWS, or you can visit windowworldstlouis.com.
This holiday season, bring the taste of Italy into your home. At DiGregorio's, we've been helping St. Louis families celebrate around the table for over 50 years. From imported wines, olive oils, and cheeses to gourmet pastas, sauces, and specialty holiday favorites like panettone and torrone. Our Italian gift baskets make the season easy and unforgettable. You'll find everything you need to make the holidays special. Experience a little bit of Italy right here in St. Louis. DiGregorio's Italian Market. Visit us at DiGregorioFoods.com.
There's something magical about walking into your backyard and knowing your family is completely safe and secure. Hi, I'm Sean Long, owner of STL Fence Works. That's the feeling my team and I have been creating for metro area families for more than 50 years. Whether you're adding your first fence or finally creating the outdoor sanctuary you've always wanted, we offer premium vinyl and stunning ornamental options, all designed around your family's specific needs and lifestyle. While other companies struggle with supply delays and rising costs, we've always proudly used all American-made materials, which means better pricing and faster installation for you. Our experienced craftsmen exemplify our motto, your satisfaction is our passion. From Warrenton to Wildwood, your neighbors trust us because we live here too, and we care about your project as much as you do. Right now is the golden time to build with flexible financing options and a commitment to completing your fence on time and on budget. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
Good morning, St. Louis. Hey, it's Vince from The Vince Show right here on News Talk STL every weeknight at 8. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
We'd have these things that'll pop up in the news from time to time. It's kind of red meat for conservatives regarding that's gross, that's immoral, you shouldn't be doing that sort of thing. Talking about like the so-called all-ages drag shows that you would see, you know, sometimes like we had stories of, drag shows where kids were brought, on a Saturday afternoon, and it was all ages, and we would rip on the parents who are letting their kids be around this, because you'd see the video of the performers, air quotes, shaking their groove thing in front of kids, and kids giving them dollar bills and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, there have been some of these in libraries and community centers and things like that. And so those could become illegal in the state of Missouri.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
So there's a MissouriNet has an article that I found on this, and the headline is Adult Cabaret Bills Await Missouri Senate Committee Vote. Now, this doesn't look like it's one of the bills that are fast-tracked, but it's in the process of it right here. So there are two bills that are almost completely identical. And so here we'll get into the sort of basics of them, and the concept definitely is well-meaning.
Okay.
You just got to be careful to not go too far on something, not because you want to allow something that's awful, but because even weird people have freedoms. You just can't. You can't go too far with government as well. I'll make sense of that in just a minute. 7:53 right now. Obviously, what's happening around the country, around the world, moving really, really, really fast.
Yep.
So keep RedState.com up on your phone, maybe on your computer, just to stay up to date. So, Susie, where should we start today?
This is the Red State Rundown.
Two articles involving illegal immigration. The first one from Rusty Weiss. Chaos erupts at Pennsylvania DMV. Illegals scatter and ditch trucks after tip brings ICE and 13 are nabbed. So this was people trying to renew their CDL licenses. And then ICE showed up and, they nabbed 13.
What state was that?
Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't check that out for sure. This is a disturbing story, and I apologize for sharing it with you, but it's kind of important. It's from Jennifer Oliver O'Connell. Florida Haitian who bludgeoned a gas station attendant was protected by Biden under TPS. This was a terrible situation. Just happened a couple days ago. This woman was killed by this man who was here and under TPS status, protected status under the Biden administration. He'd been turned away at the border at one point, but he still came back in. And now he was here protected with TPS, and now he killed this woman. So just another example of why we need to be enforcing our immigration laws and not be extending TPS to everyone. And then this one might catch some eyes from Jennifer Van Laar, our managing editor. Eric Swalwell blames MAGA conspiracy theorists for rumors he sexually harassed staffers and interns.
Saw that one.
There's one problem with that. Most of this information is coming from Democrats, not from people on the right. Now, Jen has a great write-up here about apparently Swalwell is even smarmier and yickier than people thought, at least according to multiple sources. And again, these are Democrat sources.
Yeah. So the conspiracy is a lot of women think you're creepy AF.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let me go back to just last couple minutes we've got here on this. These proposals would criminalize what they're referring to as adult cabaret performances, basically meaning sexually oriented performances of drag queens. Now, you're not talking about strip clubs and stuff. That's already regulated by the state.
Right.
So adding to the regulations in Missouri are these proposals that would make it a crime to have a drag show in front of children.
Okay.
Period. And another one that would outlaw them from any public property.
Okay.
So, so the way I'm reading the bill, and I read the bills, is that the drag queen story hour would still be legal because there's no dancing and
right. It's just someone dressed up who's reading.
It's just the weirdo and yeah, exactly. And so Rick Bratton, who's very, 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 kind of Christian conservative guy, he filed the bill that would allow people to sue the performers if they, do something sexual in front of children. And they could sue also the venue. They could sue a lot of stuff as well. But this would also make it a Class D misdemeanor for these offenses as well. The first offense would be a Class D misdemeanor. Future offenses would be a felony if you are a repeat drag queen, essentially, in front of kids. Because he referred to that as grooming when these drag queens are performing in front of children. I think Rick's right about that. I mean, that's what it is. And here's what's interesting. In the Missouri Net article, which is pretty much just a straight down the line, they just did a report on it. They just got both sides of the story. Let me just read their part of it. Opponents argued that eliminating public drag shows would be, quoting, culturally and educationally detrimental, end of quote, would violate free speech rights, and that current laws already shield children from sexually oriented performances. Chris Lehman is co-founder of Inclusion Plus, which helps to organize St. Louis Pride Fest. He testified against the bills. He's quoted as saying, families aren't stumbling upon drag shows after crossing through metal detectors, police, security officers, and ticket booths. It's just not happening, meaning, but the parents want to put their kids in front of these, whatever. So you do have to be careful of the First Amendment thing.
Yeah.
But any sort of sexual performance, there is precedent that say, yeah, you can't do that in front of kids, even if the parents want them to.
I think it's hard to figure out, too, where it crosses from provocative into sexual, because just dressing in drag, while it is provocative, isn't in and of itself necessarily overly, I feel like
if you've got the full dress that goes to the floor, that's one thing. If it's the thong thing,
right.
you got something else there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of gray area in there. So somebody
is.
would have to complain, I guess, on that. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see whether that actually goes anywhere.
Kathy Connor from Connor Roofing is here. Kathy, how you doing?
Good. Hi, Vic.
When you need a roof, I don't want to call a stranger. I want to call you.
Yeah, thanks. At Connor Roofing, we're more than just a roofing company.
How long you been doing it?
Since 1993.
And year after year, storm after storm, you guys are always there.
Because this is our home, too, Vic. Our kids go to school with your kids. We cheer for the same teams. Go Blues!
So support your neighbors. Call Connor Roofing at 314-375-7475 or CONNER roofing.com.
Thanks, Vic.
Chris Arps here, and after Becky and I leave church on Sunday, we head down the street to Capriotti's to grab a classic meatball sub. And of course, for dessert, I get a giant chocolate chip cookie. I love Capriotti's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
With all of the celebrations, anniversaries, and holidays coming up over the next few months, where are you going to go to get that special something for the special people in your life? Newsteaders Fine Jewelers, of course. Newsteaders Fine Jewelers found 24/7 at wowdiamonds.com. Tim Jones here to tell you all about Newsteaders Fine Jewelers. Richard Newsteader and his team serving our region since 1961 with awesome, honest jewelry solutions. They've got everything from diamonds to wedding engagement rings, hand-engraved items, pendants, earrings, and so much more. You can find them 24/7, wowdiamonds.com. That's Newsteaders Fine Jewelers, wowdiamonds.com.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Secretary of War Hegseth says President Trump could have crippled the entire Iranian economy in a matter of minutes, but chose mercy when he agreed to the 2-week ceasefire and further negotiations. The War Secretary's take is echoed by Vice President Vance.
What the president has also shown is that we still have clear military, diplomatic, and maybe most importantly, we have extraordinary economic leverage. So the president has told us not to use those tools. He's told us to come to the negotiating table. But if the Iranians don't do the exact same thing, they're going to find out that the president of the United States is not one to mess around.
One key aspect of the ceasefire is Iran agreeing to allow ships to pass peacefully through the Strait of Hormuz. And also this morning, President Trump says the U.S. will be working with Iran to dig up enriched uranium buried by last summer's airstrikes. And Mr. Trump, while not mentioning China or Russia by name, threatens punishing tariffs against any nation that tries to rearm Iran during the ceasefire. Israel says the ceasefire is not stopping it from attacking terrorist targets held by Iranian proxies in Lebanon.
The State National News Agency of Lebanon reports that a series of Israeli strikes hit several areas in central Beirut Wednesday without warning. It was not immediately clear what was targeted, but several of the strikes were in busy commercial locations. Since the outbreak of the latest Israel-Hezbollah war on March 2nd, Israel has regularly struck southern and eastern Lebanon and Beirut's southern suburbs, but rarely in the center of Beirut. There was no immediate report on the number of casualties. Bernie Bennett reporting.
Georgia's 14th congressional district seat will stay in GOP hands. Clay Fuller has won a special runoff election to fill the seat vacated by Marjorie Taylor Greene. Watching Wall Street, Dow futures are up 1,239 points. The NASDAQ futures ahead 842 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I had a lot of credit card debt, and it stressed me out. But what I thought was a solution turned out to be a problem. I kept hearing ads about debt settlement that seemed too good to be true. And actually, it was. When I called, they told me to stop paying my bills. That didn't sound right to me at all, so I hung up. Later, I found out that debt settlement is bad, real bad. Then I learned that there is a right way to pay off your credit cards. It's called a debt management program from the great team at Trinity. Trinity had a plan. In the end, I paid off my bills, I saved thousands, and I even improved my credit score.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-990-69.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Good morning. I'm First Alert 4 meteorologist Chance Scotch, and we're going to be tracking a warmer day, a little bit breezier. Highs eventually back towards the mid-70s, widespread. Going to be seeing winds gusting up to 25 miles per hour out of the south. Then into Thursday, mostly sunny skies. Could be seeing a stray shower or two, but the bulk of us remain dry. By Friday, increased chances of widespread showers, and a couple isolated chances of showers and storms Saturday, Sunday, with increased chances into early portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org. The party happens Saturday in Troy. Mike Ferguson here, and my friends at Whistle Pig Outdoors invite you to the Gobbler Gear Up. It's in the parking lot. Come for the authentic gumbo and crawfish broil, the live music, and over $5,000 in raffle prizes. And all turkey gear and clothing, 20% off. The Gobbler Gear Up is free, and it happens Saturday from 9:30 to 4:30 at Whistle Pig Outdoors, 651 Main Street, and whistlepigoutdoors.com.
Mike Ferguson.
Big guy, one of the biggest in the world.
Susie Moore.
Do you think he's ready?
He's not ready.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
I have a feeling that by the end of this evening, I'm going to be blamed for everything.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
This is your cousin Rob.
Okay, so in this year's elections, and we just had that first salvo, that first round with the April elections, but I would argue overall that local races matter more than the national ones for us here in the region, at least in 2026. And we are part of an event to let you compare the candidates in what is arguably the biggest election in the area. And to help me make that announcement is Grant Black from our friends at the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University. And so I would argue, Grant, that the biggest, most closely watched in the St. Louis region for the August and then later on in November, but the August election is going to be that race for St. Charles County Executive.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be one of the biggest ones.
And so we've got an event coming up in partnership. Let everybody know what it is.
Well, we've got a great event coming up. It's going to be the St. Charles County Executive Debate. Yep. So we're going to have all three candidates that are running be able to debate together. And this will be a great event. This is on Tuesday, June 2nd. I think doors open at 6, but the event will kind of kick off at 6:30 and run till about 8:30. It'll be at the Scheidegger Center for the Arts at Lindenwood, so it'll be really accessible, hold a lot of people, so we're really hoping a lot of people will come out for this.
And the Scheidegger Center is where we had the Steve Forbes event.
Yeah, that's right.
As well. It is a beautiful, a gorgeous theater, easy to get in and out of, plenty of parking right there on campus.
Yeah, very accessible. This is a really great venue for something like this, really right in the heart of St. Charles.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, and I know the Hammond Institute, I'm not going to get you all into the political partisan stuff on this, but the primary in this case is really what matters in this race. So whoever wins this race is going to be the next county executive, and that's just the fact of the matter here. So we've got confirmations. Jason Law is going to be there. Mike, Steve Elman's going to be there.
And
Bill Eigel are all going to be there. They're all going to be debating. And so once we get them on stage, this really is going to be a matter of what's in the future for St. Charles County, but St. Charles County is increasingly becoming the leader of the region when it comes to the economy, when it comes to things like education, when it comes to things like public safety. What are some of the things that we want to make sure that these candidates give us clear answers as far as what they would do in leadership?
Yeah, I think, St. Charles County is the third largest county in Missouri.
Yeah.
It's been one of the fastest growing for many, many years. And so it's a quite influential county, certainly a leader in the region here. I think you're going to see a lot of these issues related to tax cuts at the local level and probably at the state level being discussed. I think a lot about quality of life. So continued, emphasis on, safety, amenities, those kinds of things. And I think a big one's going to be the sort of future directions of development.
Right.
And I think this is where a lot of the debate kind of is, what people are sort of thinking, what kind of development do we want? Are we just rushing to develop everything? What should this look like? Sort of the pace of things, the kinds of businesses and things to bring in. So I think that's where a lot of this discussion will be.
Yeah, and from an economy perspective, Grant, I mean, like you said, St. Charles County is growing. There are more people who want to go there than there are places for them to go right now. And all three of the candidates seem to be agreed in a couple of areas. They don't want a bunch more of apartment complexes, for instance. That's part of the development that they all seem to be agreed on.
Yes. Yeah.
And so you've got an interesting situation of St. Charles County is going to grow economically. It is going to grow developmentally. It's a question of what's the best way to do it. And obviously you all study economics and you just study all this stuff at the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise. So there are right ways to do it and there are wrong ways to do it.
Yeah, I think it's really thinking about, really long-term sustainability. What kind of growth makes the most sense? Things that can try to generate and can continue high incomes. good tax bases, things like that in terms of development, mix of, diversity of industries and things like that, things that show, promise for growth in the future. So I think those are the kinds of really thinking about. I mean, they're certainly also facing this sort of continued migration west.
Oh, yeah.
So you certainly see more and more, right, of this movement out 70, easy, and so I think how do they, in part, deal with that in terms of a bit of out-migration, even out of St. Charles County, moving that direction. And so, how do they sort of keep, what's the hook to keep people in the county, help it grow well, and really meet the needs of the people?
Yeah, and that's the thing is, it's all of this stuff sounds super wonky. Now, all three of these candidates are pretty good about putting them in like layman's terms and things like that. So, they're complicated and important measures because everything is changing so rapidly at this point. But what are the principles just from that free market perspective? Because that's what you all specialize in, the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise. From a free enterprise and a free market perspective, what is it that you hope to see from the candidates as far as outlining their perspectives, whether you agree with them or not? What are the things you want them to address?
Well, I think the things that help, foster solid economic growth, whether that's at a local level, whether that's at a national level, fairly limited government, not too much over-regulation and, sort of over-intervention, allowing people to pursue their interest and, dreams and goals and foster that healthy development, fairly low, moderate taxes, so not overburdening to help foster a lot of that growth, help, sustain a high of personal incomes and things like that, profitability for businesses. Those kinds of principles, I think, are the things that really matter a lot.
Yeah, and those are the things that take us from that detailed spreadsheet policy complexity sort of thing to this is about the quality of life. This is about, I want to buy a house here. Maybe I want to start a family there. I've got the dream of starting this business here. And you do that based on all of those complexities, but then it's all about living out those dreams. And I think somewhere in between there, events like this are what connects people to the end result, people to the dream versus just trying to understand the complexities and the numbers.
Yeah, I think, this quality of life issue is a big one. Sometimes when you have so fast of growth, it's sort of hard to keep up with providing the kinds of infrastructure and services that are needed that people really desire to sort of make life well. And so I think St. Charles is really thinking about that. How do we maintain and better develop our infrastructure, those amenities that really help attract people and keep people there to make life well in St. Charles County?
Okay, so for those maybe just coming on board, we're visiting with Grant Black from the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University. You're a nonpartisan organization. You're about free enterprise and teaching people and all of that sort of thing. But the details of the upcoming debate of the St. Charles County Executives race, let's give that one more time. And that's up on the website already, I think, right?
Yes, it should be. It's up on your website, and we should have it up on ours. It's the St. Charles County Executive Debate. It will be on Tuesday, June 2nd. It's starting at 6:30. It will run to about 8:30. It's at the Scheidegger Center for the Arts at Lindenwood University. This is completely free. No tickets or registration required, so you can just walk right in. So this is very, very easy. I think importantly, this is designed, as us as an educational institution, this is designed to be a nonpartisan setting. We're here to really help just inform the public, allow them to hear these candidates, discuss these local issues and their priorities for the future. This will be a moderated debate, so I think that's important. This isn't just so the candidates sort of a free-for-all saying whatever they'd like. And so they'll have a few minutes to kind of share a little bit, and then we'll have a panel that will lead some discussions that I think will get at a lot of the issues that the local community is really interested in.
And they're going to get some challenging questions.
I think so for sure.
Yeah, because whoever's leading St. Charles is leading a significant part of the state's economy.
Yes.
Here as well. All right, and Green, you just mentioned something unrelated to this because you all do so much of that personal financial education as well. You're hoping to hang out with people at the zoo.
That's right.
You're like, what does that have to do with Lindenwood University and the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise? But this is kind of cool, especially if you've got like kids you want to teach the basics of personal finance and things.
Yeah, so this is National Financial Literacy Month, so all kinds of people all around the country involved in a lot of financial education initiatives.
You didn't get me a card, Grant. Of course, I didn't get you a card for that, did you?
So we are being a part of an initiative called Money Smart Month in St. Louis that is hosting an event at the St. Louis Zoo. That'll be on Saturday, April 18th. I believe it starts at 9. It'll run till about noon.
Mm-hmm.
Totally free. It'll be in the Living World exhibit. And so anybody can come on through. There's going to be tons of organizations there, including us, just helping provide information and some engagement with families and young kids, really getting them to really think about the importance of really personal finance principles and how to start young. I think one of the best things is how do you start instilling this at a young age to really develop these habits and patterns that set you up for success throughout your life.
So a lot of resources there for the families.
There'll be fantastic resources for families, so definitely come out and check it out.
And the giraffes will be there.
That's right.
As well. All right. Let's give out the website and the social media stuff so people can connect with that. They're going to, obviously, you can look at NewsTalkSTL.com for the debate itself. But for that and the other events, how do they get in touch with you at the Hammond Institute?
So you can find us at hammondinstitute.org, and we'll try to have information up on those events coming up and lots of other things that are happening.
Always something happening there. Grant, good chat with you again. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
All right. Turns out that, we did not vaporize 90 million people in Iran last night. And just in case, like, maybe you had a polymarket wager on that or something like that. We are going to update you at 8:20 when we get into the updates at the news dump.
Don't try to make me stop, no inspiration. You have a soul so dark, it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. You're making cold my heart to fight your war. Stop it right now!
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
They were drinking water out of the toilet.
On Newstalk STL.
Before you blow us all.
Ready for instant curb appeal that comes with a 25-year transferable warranty? Call Rhino Shield today. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, aluminum, steel, cedar, and more. Over the past 20 years, we've done thousands of homes, businesses, churches, schools, condos, parking garages, large metal buildings, and strip malls, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks. We do flat and sloped metal roofs to extend their lives too. Proud to be veteran-owned and manufactured in the good old USA. So we're tariff-free. We're exceeding expectations every day. Evaluations are free. A+ rated with the BBB and a lot of 5-star Google reviews. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common-sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Live and local.
Listen to what those local folks are telling you.
News Talk STL.
In my eyes, indisposed, in disguises no one knows.
Hey folks, Jamie Allman here, waiting for you for the 3 Martini Lunch, the Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Now back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, the votes are in, and conservatives did not do so well in some red areas, in one red area in particular. Yeah, and some voters apparently like higher taxes.
Oh, some people love them. They can't pay enough of them.
So apparently that happened. And by the way, the president did not kill a whole civilization, never to be brought back again after threatening on social media to destroy 90 million people.
I noticed a distinct lack of the smell of napalm this morning.
Yeah, in the morning. All right, Cards, Blues, Battlehawks all played last night. We got one win out of those 3 games. I'll tell you which one. It is 8:20 right now. Let's do another news dump here.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
Okay, so let me do a couple basics here on the election results, and then at 8:35, we caught up with Niles Stevens from our friends at Motax Relief Now, and the thing is that we had some good pro-taxpayer results last night, and we had some bad anti-taxpayer results last night. So we're going to get into more details on that at 8:35. But around the metro, voters having apparently mixed feelings on the tax issues on the ballot. Property tax freeze proposals passed in Jefferson and Franklin counties, but in St. Charles County, though, voters rejected the idea, basically 60-40, which what this means in St. Charles County is that you have assured yourself future property tax increases for everybody who's not covered by the senior tax increase. So this would have extended the freeze to everybody. Voters overwhelmingly said no. So at some point, you're going to pay higher property taxes. That's the result of the vote.
It makes sense, not in the sense that people would want to pay more in taxes, but I think that right now you have a lot of Democrats that are really trying to stick it to the Republicans, and even if that hurts them, as long as it hurts everybody, then they're going to show up and keep voting for stuff like that.
Yeah, and in some other races, I would say probably the most watched one have been that Francis Howell School District Board of School Board races. The conservative slate of candidates, meaning Jane Pushkar, Lauren Greenwood, and David Jaworski, they all lost.
That's surprising.
There was a clear line between them and then the establishment union-backed candidates, and the union-backed leftist-supported candidates, they all won. So that means that the Francis Howell School District, once the new members are sworn in, they are essentially going to be completely run by the left and the union-influenced Board of Education. So all the gains that were made to protect kids from, the garbage, the pornography, and all that's probably out the window. You're going to see Francis Howell School District, policy-wise, take a very sharp turn back to the left.
And I don't believe we have access to this data, but I would like to see how many people that actually have kids in the school voted one way or another. Because I can imagine when the union gets involved, it doesn't matter if their kids are there or not. They're going to vote for whoever the union says.
Right, exactly. All right, and in the city, the earnings tax renewal passed with like 80-some% of the vote. It was overwhelmingly. So the city voters, once again, punch yourself in the mouth and then wonder why you can't develop and turn the city around. Because you do stuff like this. That's why. All right, the United States and Iran agreed to a 2-week ceasefire, which doesn't appear to be holding. I'll get to that in a second here. And that was right before the deadline that President Trump announced yesterday.
And violent language, the president had warned that Iran's whole civilization would die and never be brought back again unless his demands were met. Shortly before the deadline, Donald Trump announced a suspension in military attacks subject to Iran's agreement. Iran's Supreme National Security Council accepted the ceasefire but said it doesn't mean an end to the war. The Iranian foreign minister said passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be allowed for the next 2 weeks under Iranian military management. Greg Clugston, Washington.
And so for a ceasefire, there's a lot of stuff getting blown up as we speak right now. So this is the least ceasefire-y of the ceasefires that we've seen in a while.
And it also doesn't seem like everybody that's supposed to be involved in it are clear on the terms of what they are supposedly agreeing to or not agreeing to. So it looks like as of right now, the U.S. is the only one not dropping bombs.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of conflicting reports out of the Middle East. But one thing that all of the news outlets are showing us live is that missiles are still flying literally while we're speaking right now. So if there's a ceasefire, it's not very ceasefire-ish.
I'm convinced it's basically just the U.S. and Iran that said, okay, we'll stop targeting each other.
Yeah, but there's missiles flying otherwise.
Yes.
All right, the Justice Department announcing on Tuesday it is officially creating a division to focus on public sector fraud. And this is a nationwide investigation series. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche stressing why he feels the new division is so important.
With over $1 trillion at stake every single year, threatened by increasingly sophisticated and opportunistic fraudsters, the time for this comprehensive and coordinated approach is now.
And Assistant Attorney General Colin McDonald is going to lead that new division. This is something that should not be controversial, but it will be completely political. But there should be, just like every state has an auditor, there should be a division when there are billions and billions and billions of dollars involved, or like Todd Blanche said, maybe even $1 trillion involved. There needs to be somebody whose job it is to make sure that the money goes where it's supposed to go and it's not being wasted, so eventually we can spend less of it.
So almost like a Doge committee, something like that.
Well, yeah, or an auditor committee. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I would love to see a Doge type committee in every federal government area to look for ways to cut costs. I would love to see that. All right, Governor Mike Kehoe signs the first laws passed in the 2026 legislative session. One strengthens penalties for grooming minors for sex, adding criminal penalties for sextortion, meaning blackmailing somebody with pictures or other, intimate information. And it also mandates anti-human trafficking training for law enforcement. And you may say, wait a minute, grooming was legal before? Well, kind of. It was just never defined. Abusing somebody, adults or children, obviously is illegal and is prosecuted. But there was never a definition of grooming a child. So that's now defined in Missouri state law.
And this is going to sound weird, but I mean, you can try to attempt to groom a child and then back out of the actual abuse of this. Right. It sounds like if they do this properly, you can cut down on that behavior of, maybe their parents are getting too suspicious. Now I need to pull myself back. It's not illegal. Well, now it is. The
reality is that most of the time, probably what this will be used as far as prosecutions go is after somebody is caught victimizing probably a child, is that they will then be able to tack on other things because then they'll discover how they groomed them. I don't know how preventative this is going to be, but they may be able to find somebody preventatively on it. So we'll see what they do. But I think it's a good thing that you can obviously add to an abuser and you can add to their penalties and you can throw them in jail for longer.
See, I think Gabe had the right idea. You feed a few of them to some wood chippers, and then the problem will go away after time.
Word gets around, right?
Yes.
All right, another law that was signed allows divorces to happen while the woman is still pregnant. That repeals a law that was put on the books in the 1970s because until this law goes into effect in August, if the woman involved in a divorce is pregnant, then they will basically put the whole divorce on hold and grant it after she gives birth, but not while she's pregnant. So that's going to change in Missouri.
Which, I mean, before it wasn't that they couldn't separate if there was a valid reason, but I think that's the right choice, especially because if you start the divorce, then you find out you're pregnant. Of course, under the previous law, you're kind of stuck.
Yep. And Senator Nick Schroer's juvenile justice bill was signed into law, and among other things, and this was a lot of stuff that was included here, it makes it easier for minors to be charged as adults if they commit violent grown-up crimes.
You want to act like an adult? Be treated like an adult.
That's what's going to happen here. All right. The crew of 4 astronauts aboard Artemis 2 sharing a phone call, a connection with the astronauts on the International Space Station. That had to be kind of cool. And this, of course, is after they went past the moon and they are on their way back to Earth. NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman was on America Reports on Fox giving an update on the mission itself.
This is a first of its kind. This is the first time astronauts have ever been on this rocket. This is the first time astronauts have ever been on Orion before. Having a clean mission like this so far gives us the confidence for Artemis 3. And, of course, when we land astronauts back on the moon with Artemis 4.
Okay, and the Artemis 2 crew is going to land back on Earth Friday evening.
See, this is why I can't be an astronaut. I'd be so tempted to make the first prank call from space.
Yes, I get it. And the thing is that you would probably prank me from space.
Yes, I would.
I would be the target. So, all right. Okay, so the Battlehawks just could not contain the Renegades offense last night. They lost 31-15 in Dallas. There were some dropped passes as well that contributed. I think the Renegades were going to win no matter what, but it could have been a different game. Battlehawks are back at home on Sunday hosting the Birmingham Stallions at the Dome. Listen, the Battlehawks Renegades game, the top 2 teams in the UFL, the 2 best teams in the UFL, 5,000 people showed up in Dallas, which is a lot bigger than St. Louis. Only 5,000 people showed up for that game.
I guarantee if that was a home game, absolutely packed.
Yes. So let's get the 30,000+ out Sunday afternoon. at the Dome for the game against the Stallions. All right, the Cardinals scored twice in the 10th inning. Yep, they went to extra to get the win over the Nationals in Washington, D.C., so the Cardinals and the Nationals both have won one game of the series. Deciding game is today at 3:05. Pitching matchup is going to be the Redbirds' Michael McGreevy on the mound, and the Cardinals are going to face former Cardinal Miles Michaelis. This will be his, I think, second outing of the season, and he got shelled in his first game. He's got an ERA of over 14 right now. Yeah, That's ugly. That's ugly. And the Blues end up on the wrong end of a 3-1 game against the Avalanche at Enterprise. Robert Thomas had the Blues' only goal. Up next is another home game. This is going to be Thursday against the Jets. All right, voters, what were you thinking? And I'm not criticizing. I'm asking, what were you thinking? Because results were mixed all over the place on all these tax proposals. Niles Stevens from Mo Tax Relief Now is going to be with us. Well, we talked to him just a little bit ago, and we're going to have that discussion for you at 8:35.
Black hole sun, won't you come wash away the rain?
Mike Ferguson in the morning
Democrats produce mobs. Republicans produce jobs.
on NewsTalk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Good morning. I'm First Alert 4 meteorologist Chance Scotch, and we're going to be tracking a warmer day, a little bit breezier. Highs eventually back towards the mid-70s, widespread. Going to be seeing winds gusting up to 25 miles per hour out of the south. Then into Thursday, mostly sunny skies. Could be seeing a stray shower or two, but the bulk of us remain dry. By Friday, increased chances of widespread showers, and a couple isolated chances of showers and storms Saturday, Sunday, with increased chances into early portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shane Scott.
Fox News commentary with Jimmy Fallon next.
Most investments today feel like second jobs. Real estate, you're a landlord. Stocks, you're a day trader. Crypto, you're a full-time researcher. You've got a life to live. Your investment should help you live it. That's why more Americans are choosing gold. Noble Gold has helped thousands protect their future with real physical gold. Visit NobleGoldInvestments.com to get your free wealth protection kit. That's NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Here's Jimmy Fallon.
What the left likes to do is they like to come up with an attack angle that requires no thought at all. Give them an angle that allows them to form a concrete opinion about a pivotal issue without injecting any thought or research into it whatsoever. When it comes to the Iran war, what they keep telling you is he still hasn't explained what we're doing there. Marco Rubio has explained what we're doing there so many times, he's going to drop an F-bomb on live TV if you ask him again. How many times has Trump said they can't have a nuclear bomb? That's what we're doing there. We negotiated, they can't have a nuclear bomb. We hit their uranium, what we thought was their enriched uranium supply last June. Turns out they were lying to inspectors. There was other uranium. They can't enrich that uranium and have a nuclear bomb. That's why we're going in.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
Hello, St. Louis. This is Everett Jones of Jones Air and Water Treatment. I know you're ready for some summer weather. While we still have the spring to get through, this is a great time to think about your swimming pools. That's right, now is a great time to save on EcoSmart salt-free, chlorine-free, acid-free pool products. Call now and get 50% off glass-packed media and 15% off all other EcoSmart products. Call now at 636-899-1040, now through the end of April.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serve you St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
Ever feel like just a number in a waiting room? Hi, I'm Shannon Tribune, Director of Operations with Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Navigating the medical system can be a maze of stress. I'm your personal guide at Body of Health. I handle the messy parts of medical care, the logistics and complex coordination, both in and outside our walls, so you and Dr. Tobler, that's my dad, can focus on what matters most, your health. At Body of Health, you're not just a patient, you're part of the family, because that's healthcare the way it ought to be. To learn more, schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
Love the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the NewsTalk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Good morning, Missouri. It's your boy, Joe Pags. I'll talk to you tonight at 10. But right now, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Mixed results on all the tax proposals.
Yeah.
Oppositions on the ballot. That's what I think was interesting, because so you can look and say, what was the general trend or momentum? I don't know that there was one. It was hyper local, I think, is what happened here. So are we now? We have Niles. Okay, we got Niles Stevens from Mo Tax Relief Now with us right now. And Niles, I mean, there was a big push, obviously, tax reform. There's an appetite for it. I'm going to start with the big one in St. Charles County. This one wasn't even close. Voters said no to freezing the property taxes. So either they really like higher property taxes or the establishment got through, because in other areas, this thing passed. I mean, Franklin County, Jefferson County, they voted to freeze their property taxes for everybody. What happened in St. Charles County, in a much more populous area and what we would think is a more conservative area, but they're okay with increased taxes, apparently.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me on. I think that shows that Missourians will buck the trends on Election Day, and that's been shown year after year. We thought we were a pro-life state, and now all of a sudden we weren't either. All politics is local, and anything can happen in these low turnout April elections. I think I saw one small community in St. Louis County where 10 people showed up to vote and increase taxes on the rest of their community.
Wow, that's wild. Niles, question for you about I don't know how the messaging was handled in, for instance, Jeffco and Franklin County versus in St. Charles County on this measure. Was there a lot were there a lot of signs? Were there a lot of people pushing? Because I will be honest, as a St. Charles County resident, I didn't see anything about this. I didn't see yard signs. I didn't hear. The only way I know about it is from being here at the radio station.
Right. Well, in St. Charles County, they also had the big school board fight, going on out there. So they had the conservative candidates up against up on the ballot, and so that might have played a part in it. In these April elections, it's the low turnout elections, and conservatives have a hard time showing up. So in St. Louis County, you can see where the fire department tax increases, it basically just followed the red and blue trend lines. So out west, where it leans more red, the fire departments lost. In the blue areas, they won. In St. Charles County, might have been just like a change election year this year, where the school board got people fired up to vote. And then also I think that the messaging on the no on the freeze kind of scared people away from it. They have already given seniors a tax freeze, and then another freeze on top would have affected services. And so those people that are receiving the services, the people that are providing the government services, they probably just did a better job at messaging to make sure that they had funding, their funding got continued.
Yeah, and regarding your lines on the red and blue, if you look at St. Louis County on the sales tax increase plans that in theory is supposed to eventually lower some property taxes. We'll see where that happens. That passed in Afton. It passed in Blackjack. Let's see here. It failed in Creve Coeur. It failed in Fenton. It passed in Florissant. It passed in Kinloch. It passed in Limay. It passed in Maryland Heights. Let's see here. Where else? It failed. Metro West, it failed. Mid-County passed. Monarch failed. North County passes. Northeast Ambulance passes. Pattonville passes. Robertson passes. Spanish Lake passes. Valley Park fails. That is just all over the map.
It's
just everywhere.
Literally.
Yeah.
Well, I think it does show. That's kind of like on the red and blue lines. I think maybe some of those areas in South County might trend a little more Republican, a little more conservative, that it's still passed. But Monarch, Metro West, Creve Coeur, Valley Park, those areas are, traditionally a little more conservative, a little more Republican red areas. Whereas when you move further in east, trends a little more blue. And so from what we're looking at, it kind of fell right on the partisan line there of whether or not the sales tax increase passes. So
we did see a little bit of an uptick in turnout. You kind of alluded to this in St. Charles County. It's looking like right now it's right at just under 19%, which is a little higher than predicted. But overall, because April elections have these traditionally such low turnouts, do you feel like there's this maybe going to be a push to do away with the April elections so that measures like this are handled on higher turnout elections?
There is a push for it. I know there's a number of bills that got filed this year at the state level. So to move the school board elections to April, to move tax increases to April elections. Some people have suggested putting minimum turnout requirements for tax increases. So there's a push for it that just hasn't got pushed across the finish line yet. But I think as a whole, when you look at the state as a whole, there is still an appetite for lower taxes. So even like in the Kansas City area, I think all of their freezes and caps went into effect. In Osage and Perry County, they did the senior property tax freeze, and those passed with huge margins, which the senior property tax freeze, that continues to be one of the most popular bills in the state. But then again, in Christian County, which just south of Springfield, in the like Nixa area, their property tax freeze, just like in St. Charles County, it failed. So a little all over the map, but as a whole, what we're seeing is that there's still an appetite for lower taxes. And so we're still pushing hard for property tax reforms, the zero income tax this year. So we're still on it to try to save people money and make government affordable.
We are visiting with Niles Stevens for Mo Tax Relief now. And of course, to that end, Jefferson County and Franklin County, the property tax freeze passed in those areas. So there were far more. I think it was on the ballot, 97 counties, I think it was something like that. It passed far more than it failed. So is there momentum regarding future tax reform, whether it's property tax or the income tax? Because this round of elections, I've got to think that the establishments, that they really looked at this as the first battleground, because the left has made it very, very clear. They want to preserve the ability to raise taxes. They want more of your money. And so a lot of areas in the state, voters have said we've had enough. St. Charles County is one of the most populous, most influential parts of the state. And they said no. And it's ostensibly a red area. So does this affect the momentum behind the debates over taxes in Missouri at all?
I don't think that it affects the momentum. I think that there's still an appetite for lower taxes. I don't think that the property tax freeze, just the way that it came through the legislature, was very popular, the way that it was done, because that was, Senate Bill 3 was tied to the stadium funding. Mm-hmm. So the stadium funding was very unpopular in St. Charles County, but people still want lower taxes. And so, again, it's kind of a split personality voter there, where they voted in St. Charles County. They didn't raise their sales tax for the fire departments, but they voted against, the property tax freeze. So Senate Bill 3 in general, I don't think was very popular, but people still want lower taxes. And I think that when you look across Missouri, what you see the macro level for the whole state, people still want lower taxes. They still feel like we can do better when it comes to making Missouri a growth state. And in order to be a growth state, you have to have low taxes, low regulation, pro-business policies in place. I think we're still trying to figure out how to get there, and this election kind of shows that.
Niles, one of the things I was mentioning earlier is I feel like a lot of this may come down to ballot language, messaging and ballot language, because, I was familiar with the issues because we've covered them here on the station. But when I got in there and looked at the ballot language, as a conservative and someone who is sort of instinctively anti-tax, my initial reaction to like the sales tax propositions was to say no. Because the wording there starts out by saying, do you want to raise sales tax by 1%? But then it explains, that there's that offset. I just wonder if there's a way, we can work on somehow improving or clarifying ballot language so people get the TLDR version of, what is the ultimate effect of this measure? Because I think that might be what throws some people off.
I agree. Yes, the ballot language, I think it's purposely confusing in some cases. And then also the messaging from the taxing districts is usually confusing. So when they want more of your money, they purposely make it confusing. So that's why we did have a House bill that Ben Keithley had filed this year to try to clean up that language so that a taxing district can't say that it's a no increase shift or a no increase bond issue, things that are meant to deceive voters. We would like to get rid of those types of things to make it clear that, hey, this is the amount that your taxes will go up if you vote yes. This is the amount that they will go down if you vote no. And to try to make sure that the voters, when they walk into the polling place, because I've seen it yesterday. I was at the polls all day long at Wildwood City Council or Wildwood City Hall, and people would ask, hey, what ward are you in? And they don't know what ward they're in. They're not sure about who to vote for the library or for the St. Louis Community College Board. So a lot of people walk in there and they don't have a great idea about what they're voting on. So to clean up some of that language is very important. So I'm really hopeful that Ben's bill gets passed to make sure that it's super clear. This is the amount that your taxes will go up or down when you vote yes or no.
And of course, we're going to be talking about that on April 30th. This is going to be the Road to Zero Income Tax Town Hall, and Niles and Dennis's team there at Mo Tax Relief Now, Americans for Prosperity Missouri, News Talk STL. We're all teaming up to bring you this April 30th. Senator Nick Schroer, State Representative Ben Keithley, going to be there talking about that very bill that Niles is talking about right now. So if you go to Americans for Prosperity's website, you can RSVP. It is a free event, but you do need to RSVP. So April 30th, I'm going to be there. Niles, I'm assuming you're going to be there as well, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to be there. We're excited for this one. The zero income tax, HB 173, did pass through the Senate committee yesterday. And so it is still moving through the process at the state level. And the messaging is going to be important on that. The ballot language is going to be important on that because we want to get rid of the income tax and we want to quit taxing our labor, taxing our creativity. So that's a very important bill. Yeah,
because and then at that point, it goes to the voters at some point, assuming that it goes through the rest of the legislative session. So that means this income tax town hall on April 30th is going to be really, really important, including those who aren't sure or even disagree with us. Come on out, bring your questions. It's a town hall. Let's have the conversation. And Niles, you're actually hoping to have a little more direct say in these things starting next year.
Yes, I am on the ballot. The filing just closed for the state level at the end of March. So I am on the ballot for House District 110. That was the seat where Justin Sparks was our state representative. It is an open seat this year. And I am really excited to get in there and start digging into the budgets, the numbers, the appropriations, the ballot language. So our campaign's going fantastic. And met a lot of voters yesterday at the polling place and really excited about working at the state level.
All right. And we've already tagged you on social media. Do you have a campaign website up yet?
NilesForMissouri.com.
Easy enough. All right. We'll talk to you again soon. I'm sure I'll talk to you before the 30th, but I'll definitely see you on the 30th, Niles.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I've driven all over Washington, D.C. I cannot find the money tree.
On News Talk STL.
Tim Jones here to introduce you to your new favorite roofing company, Corel Roofing. There were 4 major storms last year. Did your roof take a hit? Do you even know? Most homeowner insurance policies require claims to be filed within 1 year, so time's running out for a closer look. At Corel Roofing Company, you get a local roofing specialist who will advocate for you every step of the way. Give yourself peace of mind. Schedule your roof inspection today with Corel Roofing at CorelRoofingCo.com. That's CorelRoofingCo.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Ronald Reagan once famously said, "Government is not the solution, government is the problem." When it comes to economic growth, government can be a roadblock. With red tape, regulations, and subsidies, government stifles entrepreneurship and also props up businesses that deserve to go under. Unlike government, free markets encourage risk-taking, freedom to succeed or fail. Governments shouldn't be picking winners and losers, the market should. Free markets benefit the business owner and the customer by encouraging competition. Free Market enabled a young man named J.C. Hall selling picture postcards in Kansas City to turn his idea into Hallmark cards. In St. Louis, the free market made it possible for Adolphus Busch to turn his father-in-law's local beer into the world's largest brewery. A free market also means you get to send your kids to the school of your choice. Learn more about free markets at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Ken and I, we love our veterans. That's why we honor them every Wednesday at 11:05, and we'll do another edition of Vic for Vets Wednesday at, 11:05.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Let's get back to all this madcap mayhem with Mike Ferguson in the morning. But don't forget, stick around for Jones and Arps every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m.
All right, I forgot to mention, we actually been so busy with election stuff and everything that's going on. The announcement of the upcoming debate, St. Charles County executive race. This thing's going to be intense, man, this race. You've got Jason Law, you got Bill Eigel, you've got Steve Ellman. You've got three very well-qualified candidates facing off for the St. Charles County executive race. I know you're saying, Mike, but that's just the Republican primary. The general election's in November. Listen, the primary decides the next executive. I'm sure there's a Democrat on the ballot there somewhere. They're going to get crushed in the general election. That's just the way that it is. So we just announced about 45 minutes ago the upcoming county executive primary debate. We are teaming up with the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee and the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise. We are bringing this to you. It is going to happen. It is going to happen, June. I'm sorry, June 2nd, I think it was. But look at NewsTalkSTL.com to get all the information on that. This is going to happen at the Scheidegger Center. Free, open to the public, no RSVPs, no tickets needed. Just put it on your calendar. Check out the hammondinstitute.org and newstalkstl.com, and you can get more information. And this is going to be an important one because this will be, if not the only, it will definitely be the biggest and most important debate of this entire race.
Yeah, you have, obviously, fortunately, hopefully, it'll stay red, but you have a little bit of different flavors with each of them.
Yeah,
so it's
totally.
going to be a very interesting.
Totally.
I've been to a couple of Eigel's events, and he's just a very going-to right out the gates kind of speaker. So he's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, and the Scheidegger Center is just gorgeous. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. I really enjoy our events up there. That's where we had the Steve Forbes event.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where that was. Oh, and also, of course, before that, May 20th, I said May, I meant May 20th. That is when Riley Gaines is in St. Charles.
Ooh.
So Riley Gaines is going to be at the Missouri Right to Life banquet, which they're calling the Make Missouri Pro-Life Again banquet. MissouriLife.org. That's where you get your tickets, your reservations there. Those things are going to sell out.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to sponsor a table, that's the way to do it. But Riley Gaines is the keynote speaker, which is going to be, I enjoyed last year's, but I'm looking forward to this one a lot more than even last year's. All right, 8:53 right now. The ceasefire that really isn't a ceasefire.
No.
Yeah, I guess we're not bombing anybody, but it looks like everybody else is bombing everybody else.
So this is what I've been able to confirm in the past 20 or so minutes is Essentially, so Israel disagrees that Lebanon was part of the ceasefire. They said, we're still going to bomb them no matter what. Pakistan and Iran have said, no, this was part of the condition of us reopening the strait. Since Israel is continuing to do that, now Iran's issuing, saying none of the quote-unquote enemy ships, oil tankers, will be coming through.
So the Strait of Hormuz is not opened up.
It is basically, if you are not one of the people engaged in bombing them right now, then you get a $2 million tax added per ship that goes through there. Of course, China gets all their stuff for free because they're allies. And then I guess Iran struck Saudi Arabia's oil pipeline. The UAE is now doing a massive bombing campaign against Iran's oil fields.
So this is really one of the least ceasefires that we've had. And if the Strait of Hormuz is not opened up, that was what the whole thing was supposed to be. So if they don't open up the strait and keep it open, then they're, I would think, violating the agreement of the ceasefire, which means all hell could break loose anyway coming up here. So the deal is falling apart before it even solidifies. You know, I don't know if they sign contracts on stuff like that. I don't know if they would. But
a little pinky promise.
Yeah, exactly. A little pinky swear. But yeah, it looks like whatever deal that was made is not actually happening, and the only ones who are backing off of something is us.
And that's been sort of what a lot of the criticism right now is. I found out this term called taco. It's basically like Trump chickened out again, kind of is like the I don't know if it's applicable.
I don't know if that's fair, but yeah.
Yeah, but if you see that being spammed, it's basically mocking that he's not following through. I can imagine though as well that, again, the reason why it seems like Iran and the U.S. have kept their side of the agreement in terms of not bombing each other's stuff, but if they're going to play this game of saying we're going to keep it closed until Israel gets on board with all this, and I don't believe that they are, then I believe that the United States is going to say, well, that was the conditions to have some more bombs now.
Right, because that was the whole point of the deal, is to reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
Yes.
You know, and Iran obviously would say, we'd like you to stop blowing up our stuff because they want time to frankly reorganize and reload. So if the Strait of Hormuz doesn't get reopened, well, then the ceasefire never existed.
And then it turns out as well is that the idea of the Iranian people being able to rise up, I mean, that we tried to send some firearms there. I guess we sent them, the Kurds promised that they were going to redistribute them.
Yeah.
They just kept them. So the regime, not the previous regime, but the loyalists to the regime still have control of that. They're still basically holding everybody hostage in Iran. I don't anticipate this is going to come to a clean and decisive end, but we are approaching, I believe, that deadline where Congress would have to approve.
Yeah.
And so that's going to complicate
this
negotiation powers.
It's going to be a mass. I mean, it's still just a massive mess. And so, you know, I mean, and you notice I didn't even get into that stupid social media comment that the president put out yesterday about, you know, this civilization's going to die, never to be brought back. I'm not even going to get into all that kind of nonsense. But it looks like whatever deal is made, unless they find a way to enforce it, the deal just isn't happening.
Oh, and Qatar is also trying to get in on this now, saying that Iran needs to pay for all the damages that they caused. So
they don't have any money.
I was going to say good luck with that one if that's going to be a condition of a ceasefire with them.
I mean they've got all the oil reserves, so they've got money, but that ain't happening. That's just not. I mean, and this goes back to, remember, we've got completely different outlooks and worldviews. One of the mistakes that we Americans make is we think that the Islamic part of the world sees things the way that we see things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we look at it as, well, I don't like you, but you've got a right to do this. You know, of course we all, you know, value human life. Well, no, they don't. You know, remember, we value heroism, you know, that saves lives culturally. They value martyrdom.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, these people are nuts. Don't they see they're getting beat? All they're going to do is get all their people killed. They don't care because they don't look at that as a bad thing. They look at that as one of their virtues.
If they can cause as much destruction as they possibly can as they're on their way out, then that will still be a win for them and people that have that sort of ideology in the region.
Right, exactly. So they're working on just a whole different mindset there. All right, so NewsTalkSTL.com election results, are linked in there. Obviously, the information about the upcoming debate. Put that on your calendar, and you definitely also want to check out the Make Missouri Pro-Life Again event that's coming up in May 20th. So we got an event coming up in May. We got an event coming up in June. And, of course, later this month, we've got the town hall with News Talk STL and with Mo Tax Relief Now and with Americans for Prosperity, Road to Zero. All of that information is at NewsTalkSTL.com.